The action begins in another world. The main character says that if someone got into another world, they would probably want to enjoy a second life. The hero sees a lot of comments on the computer screen. The young man says that he would not advise anyone to stream in another world. The hero is sitting in front of the computer with a bandage on his head. There is a microphone on the table. Sometime later, when time has passed and night has fallen, the hero sleeps peacefully in the room. The room looks simple but quite cozy. There is no other furniture in the dorm room. Girls appear around the hero one by one. Some of them look like demons. All the girls are clearly obsessed with the young man. They look at him with loving eyes. This is exactly what the hero was afraid of. The action continues in the present tense in Atarashia, the kingdom of Logias, at the Sistal Academy. The students are in the hallway. Lessons are over, and the teacher tells everyone to be careful on the way home. The hero goes home. The young man returned to his home. His house is a small dorm room. There is only a small bed and a table in the room, at which the hero works and studies. The hero takes off his uniform and carefully broadcasts it. The white school uniform doesn't look very expensive, but it's quite exquisite. The young man puts a bandage on his head. He's obviously preparing for something. The hero exhales and prepares to start. The hero says loudly that it's time to start. There is a monitor, a keyboard, and a large microphone on the table in front of him. An unknown logo and an inscription appeared on the screen, which indicates that only sound is being broadcast. The young man greets his listeners and introduces himself. His name is Haishin. He asks how everyone is doing. Listeners immediately write a lot of comments that are translated into understandable language, which is very convenient. Haishin suggests chatting and discussing the problems of the listeners. The first message was sent by a young man named Akto, who is an adventurer of rank B. The hero reads the message carefully. Akto says that the guy who recently joined their team turned out to be useless. He could only use enemy search, weapon care, and auxiliary magic. Therefore, the Akto leader kicked him out. Akto arrogantly says that the guy was very worried because he was kicked out. Haishin asks Akto if he is stupid or not. The hero clearly disagrees with Akto's words and is very annoyed after reading this story. Haishin says that finding enemies can prevent you from encountering monsters, and taking care of weapons can save money. The hero asks if all this is not enough in order to be useful in the team of adventurers. Haishin reproaches Akto for his bad attitude towards people and asks if he considers himself better than that guy. Commentators agree with Haishin's words. They say that someone is a bad commander, and that guy would be very useful and he's pretty good. Meanwhile, Akto is listening to Haishin's stream. The streamer says they don't have enough people because of the lack of auxiliary magic. The hero is clearly very unhappy. Someone is holding the phone in his hands in disbelief and listening. Haishin says rather rudely that if someone considers himself a god or a king, then the hero has only one piece of advice for him. Haishin practically shouts at the rude and ungrateful actor, trying to get his point across. The hero categorically declares that the commander, unable to give a normal assessment, must leave. Haishin says that when Akto ruins the whole band, it will be too late to change anything. Haishin tells Akto to kneel in front of that guy and beg him to come back to the team. Some commentators agree with the streamer, but some still think it's too much. Now the hero has 10,000 listeners. A young man is drinking water. He wonders if he has managed to convey his point of view. The hero wants his listener to live longer, despite the fact that he is so rude. The hero moves on to the next message. The next person tells that he is the son of a high-ranking nobleman, and he already has a bride. Haishin sighs thoughtfully and imagines this girl. The man continues to tell that he recently liked a beautiful exchange student, so he is going to leave his fiancée. In a rage, Haishin says to die and give the girl to him. At this time, the stranger is holding a phone in his hand and listening to the angry words of the streamer about his message. From a small terminal, the streamer's words are heard about the stranger aristocrat giving him his girlfriend. Haishin asks the young man if he has thought about his family. The hero says that the wedding of an aristocrat is not something to be taken lightly. All listeners support the streamer. Haishin continues his appeal and tells the stranger to first try to establish a trusting relationship with his fiancée and not judge people only by their appearance. One of the commentators says that he doesn't know the whole situation. The other thinks that Haishin is jealous of that guy. The streamer tells the stranger to try to get to know the girl better. At this time, Haishin imagines a beautiful young lady who asks if she can hold his hand. The young man also really wants to get a girlfriend. The hero imagines this picture with tears in his eyes. The hero ends the stream and says goodbye to the listeners, saying that he will return to them tomorrow. The young man sighs wearily and leans back in his chair. He removes the bandage from his head. Haishin thinks about the streamers he admired in his past life. The young man did not think that he would ever become one of them. It's quite fun for him to do it. The hero twists the bandage on his arm and hums something. Haishin is a rebirth in this world. There is a large monitor on the table behind him and a microphone is visible. This is all the streaming equipment. The next day at the academy, the teacher tells the students that magic is an image and shows it clearly. Light forms on the tip of his finger. The magical light illuminates the man's face like fire. Haishin thinks that he was born again in this and has already lived here for some time. Meanwhile, the teacher is explaining something to the other students. All the students are listening attentively to the man. At first, the hero was very excited when he found out that magic exists in this world, but now it has become commonplace for him. The young man remembers how he learned to use magic at the beginning. It has become commonplace for a reason. Magic has ceased to be something amazing for the hero, because now he has an endless reserve of mana. There is a huge, and at the same time infinite power lurking inside the hero, which he feels every day. Kanata, that's the hero's real name, realized pretty quickly that this power would not allow him to live an ordinary life. From simple blows, the ground under his feet crumbled easily. The hero couldn't show his real strength to the maximum. The hero knows that only rich nobles or talented commoners can pass the magic rank test. Kanata held back his strength and was able to gain the S rank. This level was enough for him not to stand out from the rest. Kanata notices that someone is approaching him from behind. The young man already knows in advance who is coming to him. The hero turns slightly to make sure who is approaching him. One of the classmates tells the hero to go home because he is a commoner. His friend tells Kanata that he doesn't even have a last name and shouldn't have come here at all. His classmates are clearly not happy with his presence here. Kanata knows that nobles don't like commoners. The school tries to mitigate this, but some discrimination still remains. All students react to this situation in different ways. The young man bends down a little and thinks that he has to be polite to the nobles at the academy, even though they are the same age. The hero clearly does not want to behave like this, but he has no other choice. The hero folds his hands and, with a smile on his face, tells two classmates to address this question to the teachers, because he himself cannot help them in any way. Young people are furious at this reaction. A young student with a high hairstyle grabbed Kanata by the collar of his shirt. The teacher notices the quarrel and asks what the young people are doing. The man wants to stop the fight before it has even started. The teacher continues to chastise the young people and tells them to channel their energy in another direction since there is so much of it. Suddenly, someone appears and says that she was late, apologizing. Everyone pays attention to her. The girl was clearly in a hurry to go to class and was running fast. She bent down slightly and put her hands on her knees. The girl is breathing heavily and trying to regain her breath. Small beads of sweat are running down her face. The teacher recognizes the late girl. Her name is Maria Atareja. The girl has long beautiful blonde hair and a beautiful figure. She looks at everyone in embarrassment. Maria adjusts her disheveled hair. The teacher says that Maria is at home. She probably has a lot of worries, so he is not going to tell her off. The girl thanks the teacher with a polite bow. The man definitely doesn't want to cause problems for the princess. The man tells the students that it's time to hold a demonstration. Suddenly, a blonde young man comes out of the crowd. He resolutely goes straight to the teacher. The young man asks to be allowed to demonstrate everything himself. The handsome young man looks confident. Behind him, Kanata looks at him in disbelief. The young man looks at the hero and says that, after all, it's just an S rank. Kanata looks at him indifferently and doesn't answer anything. The young man has 3 stars on his uniform, which indicates the SSS rank. The young man gathers power at the tip of his finger. He asks the teacher if he just needs to hit the target with low-level magic. The teacher replies that he has covered everything with refractory magic and the student cannot hold back. The hero shoots at a target at a great distance with a small magic charge. The magic hits the target, accompanied by a loud bang. Smoke is coming from the young man's finger. The young man hit the center of the target clearly. The teacher says that one example will not be enough. A light smoke is coming from the center of the target. There is a dark impact mark in the very center. The teacher looks at the list of students and asks Kanata to go to the target. The hero agrees and prepares for the demonstration. All the other students look at him disdainfully and point their fingers. Kanata collects a small amount of magic at the tip of her finger. Behind him are rude classmates, an arrogant young man, and Maria. Everyone is waiting for the hero to shoot. No one expects much from him. The young man easily releases a small charge. Kanata's magic quickly reaches the center of the target. The charge does not hit the very center of the target. A tiny charge of magic shatters the target into small pieces and causes a big explosion. From the blast wave, Kanata's clothes develop behind him. The fence in front of the target is also flying in different directions. The young man looks at the explosion and realizes that he did not calculate the force. Maria looks at the explosion with delight. Arrogant classmates can't believe their eyes. The satisfied teacher holds a handful of ashes in his hands and shows that this is all that remains of the target. The man says it was a great demonstration. The teacher says that now it's time to practice. The rest of the students completely lost the desire to do anything after such a demonstration and laughs a little. A classmate with a high hairstyle gets angry and says that a commoner couldn't do such a thing. He's shaking with anger. Kanata calmly passes by. The hero does not notice his rude words and envious reaction. A classmate with a high hairstyle and his friend think Kanata cheated at the demonstration. They are already preparing to use attacking magic. Young people are annoyed by the hero's strength and abilities. Suddenly, Maria appears behind the young people. The girl asks her classmates what they are doing here. Young people are noticeably nervous in her presence. The girl is clearly not happy with what they were going to do. Two aristocrats turn around and see Maria in front of them. The young people are scared by her sudden appearance. The girl looks at them menacingly. The young people look down and did not know what to say. Maria slowly approaches the tree. She walks up to the trunk and touches it with her hand. The girl tells her classmates to forget whether a man is a commoner or an aristocrat. Maria taps the trunk with her finger and says that they come here for a reason. A single blow from Maria's finger caused a large through-hole to appear in the tree. The girl tells her classmates to hide their pride away and stop saying rude things. The frightened young men bowed low to Maria and said they would not behave like that anymore. Satisfied with their answer, the girl leaves. Some classmates look at the princess with admiration. At this time, Kanata heard a noise coming from nowhere and turned around. Maria stands behind the hero. The girl tells him that his magic is amazing. The young man thanks Maria. The hero looks attentively at the girl in front of him. He knows that this is Madame Maria, the royal person. The girl is the third princess. Maria looks good-naturedly at the young man. Kanata can feel all the classmates looking at him because he is talking to Mrs. Maria herself. The hero thinks that now numerous glances of envious aristocrats will drill a hole in him. Slightly lowering her head, Maria says that she is very tired of these conflicts because of the difference in status. The girl says these words in a serious tone. She is obviously not joking and wants to convey her point of view. Mrs. Maria quietly tells the young man to listen to the words of the princess. The girl says this quite seriously, but as if she doesn't want others to hear what she says only to a young man. The confused Kanata did not hear the girl's words and asks her what she said. Maria is about to leave and, turning around, says she didn't say anything. The girl is slightly embarrassed. Turning around, the girl smiles coquettishly and tells the young man that even if his classmates annoy him, he should not provoke them. Maria hopes Kanata understands her. Kanata, who does not understand anything, holds his head with his hands and thinks that he does not care about rude classmates. At this time, an arrogant classmate stands behind a tree and looks at the hero with envy. Some time later, when evening has already come, Kanata conducts a new stream in the role of Haishin. The hero asks the audience how they are doing at work and at school. Haishin is clearly enjoying what he is doing now. Looking at the monitor screen and the rapidly changing comments, Haishin recalls that initially he did not have a computer. He was given one after admission. At first, it was a working terminal. Kanata recalls that in the past, he did some research and made that terminal look like the computer he was used to from a previous life. Kanata learned that terminal communication is well established in this world, but there are no suitable technologies and entertainment for the masses. However, using his boundless strength, the young man was able to create an imitation of an internet platform. The hero actually controls this whole system. The hero knows that if someone else had done it, his magic would have dried up very quickly. Kanata tells his listeners that today he witnessed an unpleasant sight. The aristocrats offended the commoner again, and such conflicts did not disappear. The young man is sorry that people cannot live in peace. Commentators write that the difference in status will not disappear so easily, and this is one of the ways to maintain order. Haishin sees that opinions are divided, as always. Suddenly, a colored comment from an unnamed princess appears on the screen. The rest of the commentators are surprised and say that this is a big fan of Haishin. Some people see such a colored comment for the first time. Kanata knows that color comments are accompanied by money transfers. He looks thoughtfully at the screen and asks aloud what is there, opening the continuation of the comment. The girl writes in her message that she is very glad to hear Haishin naked again. She says that money is her way of expressing her gratitude and asks the hero to accept it. Haishin sees a money transfer in the amount of 10 gold coins. The hero thanks the nameless princess. A young man unties his wallet while sitting in front of the screen. The hero looks at the shining gold coin and says that the girl also sent him money yesterday. Haishin thinks to himself, this is an amount of about 100,000 yen. The hero asks if the girl stole money from her parents. An unknown girl writes that she makes transfers from her pocket money, so Haishin has nothing to worry about. Slightly uncertain, the girl clearly wants to write something else. The unnamed princess writes that if Haishin wants to feel what it's like to have a girlfriend, then the stranger is happy to help him. The hero is clearly surprised by such a proposal. Haishin looks at the screen and thinks that, in fact, he is not going to get to know anyone, because this way he will be quickly discovered. The young man does not want to be discovered. The girl is holding a terminal that looks like a phone. She hears Haishin thanking her and saying that if the opportunity arises, he won't mind. Maria, lying on a luxurious bed, writes back that she hopes this will happen. Maria's pseudonym is the Nameless Princess. She hears Haishin continuing to stream and reads the following message. She thinks the hero is wonderful. The girl looks at her terminal with loving eyes. She hears Haishin's voice and hugs the small terminal tightly to her chest. Her face turns red. Confused and in love, Maria rolls around on the bed because she does not find a place for herself. She puts the terminal on the bed and lies down next to it. Haishin's voice is heard from the small device. The girl sighs. Maria approaches the terminal on the bed. Her face is right next to the small screen. The girl gently strokes the device with her hand and says what an unusual person Haishin is. Lying on the bed, Maria says that Haishin burst into Atherasia like a comet. The girl thinks that, thanks to his influence and charisma, he quickly became a force to be reckoned with. For listeners, Haishin is like some kind of higher power. His words saved lives, and he showed the way to many people. The audience listens to him and shares his opinion. Maria presses the terminal to her cheek. The girl says that the streamer is not afraid to express his opinion and take responsibility. He is very confident in himself. For a second, the girl freezes and looks at the terminal screen. An excited Maria licks the screen and says that Haishin's voice seems to penetrate her head. The girl touches her neck with her hand. Maria says that the streamer's voice seems to cover every corner of her body. The girl sighs languidly. Her own voice sounds different. Maria enjoys Haishin's voice and begs him not to stop. The girl says that she is ready to give him all of herself. She's shaking and making strange noises. Distraught with love, Maria raises her head up and says that she wants to live for Haishin. Her eyes become strange and wild, and her mind seems to be filled with only thoughts of Haishin. In this world, streamer Haishin has crazy female fans. In the dead of night, they all obsessively listen to his streams. In the future, these terrifying feelings will only grow. Haishin is possessed by demonesses, princesses, and even saints. They all dream of meeting him and getting a young man for themselves. Without thinking, Kanata said he wanted to date. All his crazy fans got a chance to do this, wanting to meet him in person. Now each of them is conducting their own personal hunt for him. At that moment, the young man did not even suspect what his rash words and loud statement would lead to. Kanata is a reincarnated protagonist who finds himself in another world. He has great magical power. He is discriminated against at school. In this world, he is the only and wildly popular streamer known as Haishin. The hero says that the unknown girl sent him 10 gold coins again. Kanata is grateful to her. His activities have created something in this world. Haishin-obsessed Princess Maria says she can keep a streamer alive. Kanata's activities have spawned a real cult, consisting of girls obsessed with him. Sometime later, on a clear warm day, after the end of lessons, the hero goes home. Kanata thinks that today he wants to go the way where there are fewer people. Kanata's classmates say that the commoner could not have carried out that explosion and he was probably lucky. Some people think the hero planted explosives in the target. After that incident, his classmates began to annoy him even more. On the way home, Kanata thinks that he can always relax with the help of streaming. Suddenly, he hears someone shouting loudly around the corner of the building. Around the corner, an arrogant rich classmate turns to Maria and desperately asks her to accept his feelings. The girl is confused. Maria, who does not want to offend her classmate, apologizes to him and says that she cannot accept his feelings. Kanata recognizes the girl and a classmate. The hero feels that now it is not convenient for him to leave his hiding place. A classmate asks Maria if she has already found a fiancé. The girl denies his assumption and says that she herself is allowed to choose a lover. Maria says that she already has the person to whom she wants to shine her whole self. The young man does not believe her words. A frustrated young man runs away from Maria in tears and wishes her and her chosen one happiness on the move. The girl remains standing in confusion. Kanata stole a glance at Maria. The hero thinks that the girl is quite to his taste. Maria is an elegant beauty with good shapes and big eyes. The young man leans against the wall. Kanata thinks that anyone who could conquer a girl like Maria is very lucky. The hero realizes that he will have to go the other way and is about to leave. Suddenly, Maria tells him that eavesdropping is bad. The girl says she immediately noticed Kanata when he was standing around the corner. The hero apologizes in fright and says that he was just walking home and then did not dare to pass by. Maria looks coquettishly at the young man. Smiling sweetly, Maria says that she was just joking. Kanata exhaled with relief and thanked the girl for understanding. The hero says goodbye to her and leaves, leaving Maria alone, who did not expect this. The girl folded her arms and touched either her face. Maria wondered if she had heard a familiar accent from Kanata. She's not sure if she imagined it or not. The action continues some time later. Evening came and the lighting lanterns lit up on the buildings. Kanata has started his new stream. The young man enthusiastically greets his listeners and apologizes for keeping them waiting. Meanwhile, in her room, Maria, who was madly waiting for the start of the stream, was going crazy with joy. The girl rolls on the floor screaming about how much she loves Haishin and what a delight his voice is to her ears. A moment ago, she was in the form of an elegant lady. Suddenly, she hears the sound of money transfer on the stream. On the stream, Haishin is surprised at how much money was transferred to him. The hero says that he is glad of this, but first of all, the listener must take care of himself. This interested Maria. The girl is interested to know who decided to support Haishin. Maria looks at the terminal screen with a grin. A message appears on the screen stating that the listener can afford to transfer so much money. Haishin continues to stream and tells the listener that this is his first letter. An energetic Maria approaches the terminal and shouts at an unfamiliar listener not to embarrass himself. The streamer reads the letter. The stranger writes that it is believed among humans that the demon race should be destroyed. Haishin thought about it. The young man says that he doesn't understand those who talk about the demon race like that. Haishin asks why they can't live peacefully. The hero is sure that this confrontation only harms both sides. Haishin says that he has never met demons, but he is sure that there are good demons among them. The young man thinks that among them there should be those who want to live in peace, and among people there are also such. The commentators are shocked. The young streamer claims that he has heard that demons are very cruel, but the hero says that there are enough bad people too. People on the streets listening to him are very surprised. Haishin asks the audience if everyone has heard about the use of people and discrimination. Maria repeats his words thoughtfully. The girl remembers how some time ago she was traveling somewhere in a luxury carriage. Maria rides in her expensive carriage. Suddenly, the girl asks Sebas to stop. The girl gets out of the carriage and goes somewhere. The subordinate turns to his mistress. Maria finds herself in a place where you can buy labor. People locked in cages beg them not to punish or beat them. Someone turns to the girl and tells her not to look like she knows what they've been through. The girl turns to her subordinate and asks what kind of place this is. Sebas explains that it is a wound of the workforce and says that she has read about tacos in textbooks. The girl wonders why it still exists. Sebas suggests a change of location. Upset, Maria is sitting near a large tree. With tears in her eyes, she asks Sebas if all this can be stopped. The girl wipes a tear on her face. Sebas tries to explain to her that the law is quite difficult to change. The subordinate says that the acquisition of labor is beneficial for some nobles and officials. A depressed Maria asks what to do then. Sebas tells her that he doesn't know. The man hands the terminal to the girl and says that he has heard that there is a person who helps to find the right way. Maria picks up the terminal. She has also heard of such a person, but she still has doubts. The girl decides to try it. She does not fully believe that there is such a person who can solve this problem. She is writing a letter to Haishin. A streamer reads a letter from an unnamed princess saying that she wants to eliminate the labor market. Haishin is surprised that there is such a thing in this country. He believes that taking away people's freedom is terrible. Commentators are surprised by his naivety. Haishin says that he is not one of those people who can change the law. But if the girl is really a princess, why doesn't she take the first step herself? The hero understands that it is very difficult to fight against the old rules. The streamer is sure that there are many lives that a girl can save. People who are being mistreated are looking forward to reforms that will improve their lives. The hero is not sure that the listener is a real princess. Maria says to prepare the carriage. The girl confidently gets up from the ground and tells Sebas that now they will go to her father, who is the king. The subordinate does not believe her words. After that, Maria took the situation under her personal control. The use of labor was abolished and a strict ban was imposed. The suffering of the people was over. The girl says that's why she believes in Mr. Haishin. Maria is sure that the streamer is showing her the right way. The girl is sure that discrimination must be combated, so at the academy where she studies, she became an intermediary between commoners and nobles. Maria looks hopefully at the dark sky. Suddenly, the girl hears a notification sound on her terminal. She reads the comments and sees that the female commentators are arguing with each other who will go on a date with Haishin. Maria, who is furious, is surprised that someone considers themselves worthy to go on a date with Haishin. She tells them to know their place. The girl writes from her account that she is the only one who is most suitable for Haishin. Maria mindlessly sends a huge amount of money to the streamer. Suddenly, the streamer tells everyone to stop acting like that. The young man says that he appreciates the feelings of his listeners, but he does not like people who arrange quarrels online. Maria is shocked by his words. Obsessed with Haishin, Maria tearfully thinks that the streamer does not like her. The girl cries a lot and thinks that the hero hates her. Haishin says that if the listeners realized their mistake, then he forgives everyone. Distraught with happiness, Maria says that she understood everything. The girl says that she is not experienced yet, but she will try her best. The young man thoughtfully repeats the words about getting along with demons. The hero thinks it's a good idea. Haishin wonders what the demon lord looks like. The streamer asks the listeners if anyone has seen him. After his words, all the listeners look at their terminals in horror. Horror appears on their faces from surprise. Each of the listeners of the young streamer tells him not to touch on this difficult topic for discussion. The ignorant Haishin continues to reason. The hero says that he really wants to see a world in which humans and demons could coexist peacefully. Suddenly, the hero hears the sound of a new notification. Kanata also sees the message that one of the listeners thinks he is an interesting young man. The listener writes that he will also try to think positively. Kanata did not know that he had touched upon the forbidden topic of this world. The action unfolds several months before Kanata's scandalous statement. The demoness with horns says that she is bored and does not want to kill people. She tells them to start over and uses spatial transfer. The subordinate is delighted that the demoness used spatial transfer. He says that this magic is beyond the SSS rank and people had no chance. The demoness thinks to herself that humans and demons have been fighting among themselves for hundreds of years and do not even try to come to a compromise. She wonders what the point of this whole thing is. A beautiful demoness with long black hair and 2 horns is sitting near a tree. She holds a terminal in her hands. The Haishin logo is on the terminal screen. There is a large dark castle behind her. Delighted by the appearance of the demoness, her subordinates tell her that she is very strong and beautiful today. The demoness's name is Shrauza. She walks past them without paying any attention. Shrauza reflects on the world with people. She thinks that one day common sense will prevail and this senseless conflict will end. Someone is calling Mrs. Strauss. The demoness turns around. A short demon girl runs up to her and says that the previous adventurers dropped something interesting. Shrauza reads the name Haishin on the small screen and asks who it is. A flying demon with 1 horn makes strange noises. The demon girl says that the adventurers used this device to hear Haishin's voice. The flying demon said all this and the girl translated it. The demon girl says that for this device to work, some waves are needed that do not pass to them here. Shruza thinks about it and says that this device can be useful for collecting information. Shruza tells the girl to try to improve the permeability of these waves and get her a terminal. The excited demon girl runs away to obey the order along with the flying demon. After a while, Ms. Shruza is already sitting at the table in front of the monitor. The demon girl asks her if she is happy with everything. The demoness gets up from her chair and says that this will help her pass the time. The demon girl quickly runs away again and says she will tell everyone else. Shruza looks thoughtfully at the monitor on the table. The sounds of the stream and the voice of the streamer reach her. The action takes place a few days later. On the stream, Haishin asks the listeners what they had for breakfast today. Shruza answers him mechanically, doing his job. Suddenly, she looks at the monitor. The demoness looks up from her work and raises her face to the ceiling in disappointment. She understands that Haishin will not answer her anything about this. Shruza's face turns red. What was supposed to pass the time gradually began to penetrate into her life, becoming an integral part of her daily routine. The demoness goes to bed under the voice of Haishin, deals with enemies and eats. Trausa is wondering who Haishin is. The demoness understands that a huge supply of mana is needed so that his voice can be heard in any direction. The demoness realizes that the streamer's magical power surpasses even her own. Trausa is really interested in Haishin. Mrs. Trausa drinks tea and thinks that Haishin is a very unusual young man. Suddenly, the girl hears the streamer saying that he doesn't like something. Haishin asks the audience why humans and demons are howling among themselves. The hero says that this conflict is not worth the sacrifices that both sides are making. In surprise, Shruza knocks over a mug of tea. The mug flies back somewhere and lands on the horns of the demon butler. Shruza is genuinely surprised that Haishin is tormented by the same question as her regarding the conflict between humans and demons. The young man declares that it would be very good if, instead of war, the leaders of the two sides met and resolved this problem peacefully. Shruza listens attentively to the streamer's words. Haishin says that this is his personal opinion, and he does not impose it on anyone. The hero is about to move on to another topic. The streamer says it's time to think about dinner now because he's already hungry. Shruza looks at the monitor in disbelief. The demoness laughs, and her face turns coquettishly red. In Haishin, the demoness saw her soulmate. Shruza is sitting in front of the monitor and listening to Haishin's stream. The girl sends the hero a huge amount of money by transfer. The streamer tells the stranger to take care of herself first. She tells him that her wallet is his wallet. Obsessed with love, Shruza says that now is the happiest time of her life. The girl is breathing heavily. Shruza also turned into an obsessive fan of Haishin. Kanata continues to stream and talk about discrimination. Shruza hears the notification sound. The nameless princess beat the money transfer of the demoness, which she is not happy about. The demon girl turns to Mrs. Strauss and asks her what happened. The demoness is furious. Haishin continues to stream and says it would be nice to get along with the demons. While Shruza continues to get mad at the nameless princess, Haishin says he's wondering what the demon lord looks like. The hero asks if anyone has seen the demon lord. Shruza hears the last phrase and pays attention to it. The demoness writes that Haishin is an interesting guy. The girl says she will try to think positively. The streamer asks if she is imitating the demon lord and says she hopes to meet her. The demon girl asks if she wanted to write. Trausa says it doesn't matter anymore and she has an urgent matter. She asks the demon girl to help her prepare. The demon girl is ready to obey the order right now. Sometime later, in a large bathroom filled with thick steam, Trausa takes a shower and thinks about Haishin. The demoness thinks about the streamer. She calls him a human son and a faceless guy. The girl is standing in the shower under the jets of water. Hot steam fills the entire surrounding space. Trausa realizes that she is a demon lord, a creature capable of destroying anything. The demoness touches her shoulder with her hand. The demoness thinks about Haishin and realizes that she wants intimacy with him. Shruza is embarrassed by these thoughts. From all these thoughts about her beloved, the demoness felt dizzy. The demon girl came to check if Strauss was okay because it had been a long time. The demon assistant asks if her mistress is okay. Trausa thinks about Haishin and says that he feels strongly. The demon girl is surprised that her mistress is so delighted with the ordinary bath she takes every day. Trausa is preparing to meet with Haishin. She thinks how much she wants to see him. The demoness does not know how to meet him or how to see his face. She spreads her big wings. The demoness dreams of grabbing Hashin and holding him in her tight embrace. She imagines a young man next to her, which is very pleasant for her. Shrauza realizes that Hashin is somewhere in the human world. The demoness slowly opens a spatial portal to the human world. It swirls in an amazing vortex. Shrauza says that for the sake of Hashin, she is ready to do anything. The demoness jumps into the spatial portal, and it closes behind her. At this time, a spatial portal appears in the castle behind the king. The king is very surprised and does not understand anything. Strauss appears in front of the man with the intention of resolving the issue. Sometime later, in the early morning, Kanata wakes up in her room. The hero looks out the window because he hears some noise. Young people on the street with newspapers are talking about some urgent news. People on the street are talking about an unexpected initiative from the demons to make peace. There is a drawing of the king shaking hands with the demon lord in the newspaper. In some fortress city, people on the streets think that this is the result of Haishin's broadcast. Even the demon lord listens to the hero. People say that his influence has spread to many countries. Everyone is surprised by the uniqueness of Haishin. At this time, a young man is watching passers-by from the window. Kanata became famous in places he didn't even know anything about. The hero assumes that people on the street are preparing for the festival. Haishin is actively streaming. During this, Maria and Shrauza obsessively listen to his voice. The girls' faces turned red. Sometime later, Kanata is doing something with her computer. He finally finished some work. The hero says that he is going to check something in the evening. Kanata decides to go and eat something. It is quite noisy on one of the streets of the city. Warm weather and clear skies accompany people. Kanata walks down the street with a baguette in her hands. The young man thinks how nice it is for him to sometimes walk around the city on a day off. There are a lot of people on the street. Everyone is in a hurry to go about their business. The young man thinks he needs to unwind. The hero is going to bite into a fresh baguette, thinking about how delicious it is. Suddenly, he hears someone's dissatisfied voice. The man screams that some young miss has defiled him. A tall, sturdy man is shouting at a little girl. He tells her not to look away because it's her fault. The man demands compensation for his ruined clothes, and he has a food stain on his chest. Young people standing nearby say that the man is clearly wrong. One of them says that the man pushed the little girl himself. Kanata hears their conversation. The hero thinks that this is too formulaic a situation and looks around to see if there are any guards nearby. Kanata doesn't like to get involved in this kind of thing, but he doesn't want to leave an innocent girl alone either. The hero turns to a tall man. Kanata comes closer and asks the man if he thinks he's too wide here. The hero asks if the girl ran so fast that she broke his skull. The man notices the young man and asks what he needs. He still continues to hold the girl's shoulder. Kanata tries to come up with a witty answer during this pause. Kanata, who did not come up with anything, needs his wrist and tells the man that it's time to end this. He demands to let the girl go, and at this time his hand is filled with powerful magical power. The young man grabs the man's hand and easily lifts it up. The man is amazed at such an action. He feels how strong Kanata is and does not understand how this is possible. The man breaks out and runs away, saying that he has to go to work urgently and he is already late. Kanata looks after him disdainfully. The young man is furious that the man did not even apologize. Kanata asks if the girl is okay. The girl is surprised by something. The hero asks what happened, but the girl says nothing and lifts her hood. A beautiful short girl with blonde hair and big eyes appears in front of the young man. She says Kanata's voice sounded familiar to her. The hero thinks that the girl may be his listener. Kanata is fighting with himself because he wants to reveal himself in order to start dating her, but at the same time, he is not sure that since she listens to him, she definitely likes him. The young man suggests that the girl go home before she gets into trouble again. The stranger replies that she will be fine. Feeling the powerful force in her hands, the girl says that she could have fought off that man herself, but was afraid to cause serious injury. Kanata does not believe her words because the man seemed to him quite strong. An unknown girl tells a young man that she appreciated his kindness. She thanks the hero by calling him a stranger. She's a little confused. Kanata smiles sheepishly and says it wasn't difficult for him. He says that sometimes it's nice to help a beautiful girl. The stranger exclaims in embarrassment. The girl says that there are many more beautiful girls than her. The young man thinks that the standards of beauty here are quite high. This does not surprise him, because he is, after all, in another world. Kanata touches his head with his hand. The girl notices something and sighs. The hero does not understand what is happening. The stranger asks what is on the young man's hand, and Kanata looks at her hand and realizes that she is talking about the bandage. Kanata remembers that he got hurt while cleaning yesterday. Several books fell on his hand. The hero says that his arm is a little swollen, but he thinks that by tomorrow everything will heal and be fine. The girl smiles and tells the hero to take better care of himself. The emotional Kanata pats her on the head and says that she is kind, unlike his classmates. The girl looks at him in surprise. The stranger pulls away from the hero's hand. The young man thinks he did something unacceptable and apologized. The girl says that this is not the case. Kanata says that the girl is younger than him in appearance. She is surprised by this and says that they should be the same age and says that she has turned 17, she is just short. Kanata is surprised and apologizes. The stranger tells Kanata not to worry because she is already used to being mistaken for a child. Suddenly, the girl gets into a defiant pose and says that, despite her appearance, she is already quite an adult. Shocked by this behavior, the young man first pulls away from the surprise, and then embarrassedly closes his eyes and blushes. The stranger laughs at him and says that she already knows how to get into adult poses. The young man sighs with relief. The hero has already begun to think about all sorts of obscenities on the part of the girl. The girl in a modest bow tells the hero that they will meet again and calls him a kind man. Kanata says goodbye to the stranger and tells her not to forget to look around. The young man leaves and thinks about the girl's appearance. She was wearing a cassock and a cross on her chest. The hero assumes that the girl is studying to become a nun. Kanata decides not to think about all this much. The young man realizes that it's time to go home. Sometime later, when evening had already fallen, the girl returned to the church. Two girls are standing in the middle of the room. One of them tells the other that she would like to tell her that the walk went well. A dark-haired girl tells a short girl that she heard that a girl like her almost got into trouble. The girl says it's pretty sad to hear. The girl says that if people knew that she was a saint in front of them, nothing like this would have happened. A short blonde girl looks at her interlocutor. The girl with dark hair says that it is unfortunate. The presence of a saint is necessary for the kingdom. A short girl is the key to negotiations with other countries. The girl doesn't want to listen anymore and leaves. The saint holds a large cross in her hands and says that people should not be divided into higher and lower. Eradicating sin, they should not hate humanity. A calm smile is visible on the saint's face. A girl with dark hair puts her hand to her face and says that the Holy Virgin is very merciful to people. The saint says that her walk was not so bad. The girl says she met a kind man today. The saint remembers that the voice of that kind man was familiar to her. She doesn't want to think that it sounded like the voice of an acquaintance and thinks that she just imagined it. The girl moves the chair. The saint sits down on a chair in a large empty room. She made sure that there was no one else here. Her expression looks strange. The girl carefully takes out some kind of device. She is holding a small terminal with the Haishin logo on the screen. Lavushka turns on the device. The whole room is filled with Haishin's voice on his stream. The streamer apologizes for keeping everyone waiting and says he will definitely read all the emails. The Holy Virgin is waving a chair over her head for joy. She is glad to hear from Haishin. The saint puts the phone on a chair and kneels in front of it. The one called the saint turned out to be another obsessed listener of Haishin. The girl listens to the streamer and says that he has a divine voice. The girl puts her head on a chair next to the terminal. There are several reasons why she also went crazy over Haishin, but in fact, she just really likes the young man's voice. The saint's assistant leaves the church. She thinks that the saint is always very calm, which the girl really admires. At this time, wild screams can be heard outside the door of the room where the saint is located. The girl asks why Haishin has such a pleasant voice. The girl gradually takes off her outer clothes. She says she cleanses her body every day. She's shaking a little. The saint cleanses her body every day so that one day she can give all of herself to Haishin. She is a model of calmness for everyone, but not when she listens to Haishin's stream. While the girl listens to the streamer's voice, she begins to feel strange sensations in her stomach. From these sensations, the girl bends down. The girl enjoys Haishin's voice and listens to his stream. She says that such feelings can make her pregnant. Suddenly, Haishin says he wants to show his listeners something before he continues streaming. The girl looks at the terminal in surprise and gets up from the floor. The saint asks the streamer with great interest what he is talking about. All her clothes are in disarray, her hair is disheveled. The small terminal starts to vibrate. The streamer's hands are visible on the screen of a small terminal. He says that now he can show everyone his hands and asks if everyone can see for sure because he is not sure about it. The shocked girl silently looks at the small screen and the image on it. She can't believe her eyes and asks how this is possible. The saint begins to go even more crazy. She doesn't believe this is possible and thinks it's just some kind of joke. The girl remembers that today she saw the same bandage as Haishin's on the arm of the kind man who helped her during the day. She realizes that it was Haishin she met today. Haishin holds both hands near the monitor. He made a camera in this world, similar to the camera from a previous life. The hero asks if the audience can see his hands. A bandage is visible on the young man's left arm. The hero says that the camera shows his hands. The streamer says that this morning he hinted at a new magical device. The young man is very glad that everything has finally worked. Haishin says he's just checking the camera today. The young man thinks that he did well. The hero moves his hand under the camera. The young man looks at the screen of his terminal and sees a video with his hand on the stream. The hero thinks that the swelling has not subsided yet and his arm does not look very good. While Haishin shows his hands to the camera and checks if everything is okay, he thinks he should have put on gloves. The hero is worried that he will be found and dealt with. After a few seconds, Haishin laughs loudly and thinks that no one will be able to identify his hands. This idea seems funny to him. At this time, the shocked Holy Virgin cannot calm down in any way. She looks at Haishin's hands on the terminal screen and can't believe her eyes. Maria is also watching the young man's stream right now. The girl holds her terminal in her hands and does not believe that she sees her lover's hands. Shrauza had already prepared a first aid kit as soon as she saw that Haishin's arm was injured. The girl is very worried about what happened to her hand. The commentators are also going crazy and asking the hero what happened. An unsuspecting Haishin sits in his room in front of a monitor and calmly says that he just hurt himself when he was cleaning up. The young man urges listeners to be more careful when they clean up the shelves. The young man says that he decided to demonstrate the new device to the audience. The hero says that in the future he will use the camera to show everyone different interesting things. The hero has a ready-made dinner on the table. The commentators say they want to shake his hand. Someone writes with delight that he saw the hero's hands. Someone says that Haishin should not take his hands away so quickly. The young man says that everyone shouldn't worry so much because it's just a bruise. Haishin wants to continue streaming and tells listeners about it. Meanwhile, night gradually fell on the city. 2 hours later, the young man is still streaming. The hero says that today it is somehow especially fun for him to communicate with the audience. The streamer receives another email. Haishin is going to read a new letter. At this time, he thinks that he should be careful with the camera so that he is not seen. The young man reads the letter and his face becomes more serious. The hero says that this is not just a letter. Its content looks more like a real threat. The man writes to Haishin. He says that his name is Bogomol and he is a local authority and the head of the Gilms gang. Mantis says he doesn't care what Haishin's streaming is called. In fact, the man tells the hero to stop doing it. Bogomol writes that his accomplices remembered the well-groomed hands of a young man. The man punches through the terminal with his dagger and smashes the screen into small pieces. Bogomol writes that a man eats people like Haishin for lunch. He swears that he will find the streamer and kill it. Maria, Shrauza, and the Holy Virgin hear threats against Haishin and become enraged. The man writes to Haishin, telling him to run to his bed and tremble there in fear. The streamer rudely responds to the stranger and shows him an indecent gesture. The hero thinks that most likely it's just envy. The young man does not exclude that a man may be annoyed by the very fact of his existence. The young man thinks that he is hiding his identity, but at the same time earns a lot of money. The hero understands that someone may not like what he is doing. Haishin says that he does not need to be threatened. If they had lived in another era, the man would have been quickly found and punished. The streamer proceeds to the next email from the listener. Even if the mantis's words were empty, he shouldn't have threatened Haishin on the air, but the bandits didn't know about it. Meanwhile, the forces that worship Haishin have come into action. A few hours after threatening the streamer live, the mantis gang was destroyed. Only the motionless bodies remained in the cave where they were hiding. The mantis was able to escape, and is now trying to escape. The man is running fast through the mountains and does not understand what happened. He uses obscene language without stopping running. Mantis remembers how recently knights came to their cave and destroyed all his people. He didn't understand how they got here. In front of the man, men in cloaks destroyed his accomplices with magic. The mantis was terrified trying to figure out what they were doing in such a place. Now the man is running and trying to escape. He wants to run away and hide somewhere. Mantis blames Haishin for everything and remembers how he pierced the terminal with a dagger. Suddenly, someone turns to the mantis and asks him how he dared to threaten Mr. Haishin. The man did not expect to be caught up so quickly. A strong blow from the stranger's sword cuts off the mantis's leg, and it flies high into the air. The man is horrified to realize what has happened. The man feels severe pain and turns back. He sees his leg on the ground, which someone has cut off. The mantis screams loudly in horror and pain. A young man in armor comes around the corner. He slowly approaches the mantis and tells him that the authority of the group turned out to be very weak and could not even see his sword strike. A young man with blonde hair holds a sword in his hands. He is wearing battle armor. The young man asks the mantis not to force him to do it again. A man without a leg is trying to escape. The magic pierces through his arm. A beautiful girl with a large cross in her hands agrees with the words of a young man in armor and says that the mantis gives them too many problems. Magical power emanates from the girl. Demons are looking at people from the mountain. They watch as the knight and the nun punish the mantis. The demon tells the demon girl that they shouldn't have come because people have already taken care of everything. The mantis is lying on the ground, chained by magic and unable to escape. The man does not understand who all these people are and why they came after him. A few hours before, Maria instructed her subordinates to find the mantis gang. The Holy Virgin instructed her assistants to act as God's punishment. Shruza simply ordered them to destroy everyone. All three girls obsessed with the streamer said they believed in Mr. Haishin. Their loyal subordinates agreed with them and went to carry out their orders. A young man in armor asks the mantis if he was really going to kill Haishin. The young man says that he did not think that there were still such stupid people in the world. The nun with the cross says it's time to end this trial. These subordinates can also be called fanatics. But they are not as crazy as their mistresses. The knight and the nun end the conversation with the mantis, and the demons on the mountain laugh and watch it. You need to watch your words online. It was a great lesson for the mantis. However, he will no longer be able to share this wisdom with others. The action takes place a few days later. Students at the academy read the news that the Knightly Order of the Kingdom has successfully eliminated the bandit known as the Mantis. All the students are sitting and chatting with each other. Kanata hears classmates reading the news and thinks that the nickname Mantis seems familiar to him. At this moment, a classmate passes by the young man. He drops his handkerchief and doesn't notice it. Kanata politely tells him that he dropped his handkerchief. The classmate looks at him and silently walks away without even lifting his handkerchief. The hero remains seated. The young man touches his head with his hands. Kanata thinks that even the commoners have been ignoring him lately. This situation makes the hero sad. Lowering his head on the table, Kanata thinks that everyone treats him like this. Because of the case in practice, the hero really does not like to be an outcast. Two classmates are discussing what is happening at school. One says the teachers have a big meeting today. A young teacher comes into the classroom. He wishes everyone a good morning and tells them to take their seats. The students sit down at their desks. The students look at the teacher and notice that he looks very shabby and tired. The young teacher's gaze is really tired. A young teacher suddenly announces that from now on, a new student will appear in their class. The young teacher is leaning on a stand. The whole class is happy about this news. Each student jumps on the spot with delight. Kanata does not understand why everyone reacts to such news in such a way. A short girl walks down an empty corridor. The teacher says that the new student is an indispensable part of the kingdom. The girl has close ties with the monarch's family. Before that, only a select few knew her by sight, but now she has decided to go public. The young teacher tells all the students never to be rude to her. The teacher asks the girl to come into the classroom. All students listen carefully to what the teacher is saying. Kanata sees the new student and does not believe his eyes. The young man looks at the girl in surprise. A short blonde girl with big beautiful eyes walks into the classroom. The girl introduces herself and says that she is very pleased to meet everyone. The girl's name is Alfana. She is quite young, but she has already been canonized. Kanata looks at her in horror and realizes that this is exactly the girl he saved some time ago and whom he touched on the head, showing his disrespect. Students from all over the academy rushed to Kanata's classroom to see the saint in person. The news that a saint had transferred to Class S shocked everyone. Crowds of students from different classes are running to meet Alphana. The young man is watching everything that is happening with a smile on his face. Kanata is a little surprised that rumors about Alphana's appearance at the academy have spread so quickly. Alphana is sitting at her desk, confused. The girl was surrounded by students from all over the academy. Everyone tells her that they dreamed of meeting her and asks her to take a look at him. Kanata silently looks at everyone. Such a reaction was predictable for him. One brave girl asks Alphana why she decided to transfer to this academy. Alphana is a little confused by this question and looks awkwardly at a brave classmate. The saint replies that her translation is something like an excursion. Alphana smiles mysteriously and winks at the classmates around her. The girl says that in fact she has a definite goal. Kanata looks ahead thoughtfully. The hero was thinking about something. The young man remembers reading about the saint as a child. When Kanata was reborn, he actively explored this new world for him. The hero remembers that every few decades, a girl with a suitable character and magical abilities is chosen for this position. The saint has the authority of the church and is active in the diplomatic arena. Also, the saint has connections with the royal family. In other words, the saint is one of the most important figures in the country. Kanata heard that Alphana is friends with Maria. The girl arrived by carriage after a diplomatic mission. The young man did not think that this girl would turn out to be a transferred student. Kanata thinks Alphana should be in the SSS class because her magic power is very great. The hero thinks about the girl with a smile. Kanata remembers that when they first met, he stroked Alphana's head. The young man is very glad that the girl did not consider this an insult. The hero thinks that he has an unremarkable appearance, and, most likely, Alphana did not even recognize his face. At this moment, one of his classmates passes by Kanata. He pushes aside everyone who stands near the saint. The young man gets into a confident pose and turns to Alphana. He says his name is Zector. He is the second son of the Rondor family. Zector is studying in the SSS class. Alphana, who did not expect such pressure, replies that she is also pleased to meet him. The Zector asks the saint if she knows that Mary is absent from school today due to official duties. Maria also studies in the SSS class. Alphana didn't know about her friend's absence. The inspector asks the girl if she would mind if he gave her a tour of the school instead of Maria. The young man addresses Alphana by name. Alphana smiles sweetly and tells the prisoner that she appreciates his help, but the girl is forced to refuse. The young man is surprised by her refusal. The saint asks the young man if she allowed him to call her by her first name. There is a threatening energy coming from Alphana at this moment. The prisoner is scared and upset. The young man makes a low bow and apologizes to the saint for such behavior. Kanata thinks that this is the guy who humiliated the commoners. Alphana quickly put him back in his place. Everyone laughs at him. A humiliated young man walks past Kanata. The hero thinks that their next lesson is practical and he doesn't have time to gloat. Kanata thinks it's better for him to think about the evening stream now. Sometime later, the students find themselves on the field for practical training. Alphana is standing near the fence and preparing to demonstrate her strength. The teacher is standing next to her. Fragile little Alphana sends a water spit spell right at the target in front of her. The girl creates a flat, powerful braid. Alphana's water spit quickly flies straight to the target and cuts the target into two parts. There is a loud crackling of wood. Classmates are standing behind a protective fence. Classmates look at the target cut in half and realize what a saint's real strength is. Water flows down the two halves of the wooden target from the Alphana water spit. One of the young people says that Alphana is amazing and no worse than Maria. The second says that she is even better. But the strange thing is that she ended up in the S class. The third one says that it would not be bad to make a good impression on her. Kanata hears their conversation and thinks that classmates can be understood. Getting to know Alphana will greatly help their families. But the hero thinks it's better to focus on himself than to do things like that. The elderly teacher says that Kanata is next on the list. A young man comes out of the crowd of students and approaches a man in front of a protective fence. Alphana is still standing nearby. Kanata and the saint cross paths and pass each other. At the moment when they find themselves next to each other, Alphana whispers good luck to the young man and calls him a kind man. Shocked by her words, Kanata turns around after her and looks at the girl's back. The young man cannot believe that the girl said such words to him. Alphana leaves the training area as if nothing had happened right now. The girls are quietly humming a song. Kanata is still wondering if he imagined it. The hero realizes that Alphana wished him luck. Confident, Kanata goes to the place where the spell is demonstrated. The hero thinks that a beautiful girl wished him luck and now he has to set a good example. The teacher sees that Kanata is more motivated than usual today. The young man takes a fighting stance and thinks that now he needs to control his forces well and not make an explosion like last time. The hero forms a water spit spell. The young man directs the final spell directly at the target. The rope's water spit hits the exact center of the target and does not pierce through it. The hero was able to restrain his strength this time. The teacher approaches the target and curiously examines the trail left by the young man in the middle of the target. The man was thinking about something. Arrogant classmates say that Kanata is as self-confident today as ever. One of the young men asks what such a commoner allows himself. Kanata silently looks at them and thinks that the familiar atmosphere has returned. The young man slowly returns to the crowd of classmates. Alphana stands a little apart from everyone. Kanata thinks his classmates can say whatever they want because he doesn't care about their rude words. Suddenly, Alphana's voice is heard. The girl is definitely shocked and upset. The saint asks if she heard correctly that a classmate called Kanata a dirty commoner. The young man did not expect that Alphana would decide to stand up for him. He looks at the girl in surprise. The saint stands in front of the hero and says that when she heard Mary's story, she thought it was a joke and this could not be. Upset by this injustice, Alphana says that she did not expect that the aristocrats of this academy really humiliate ordinary people because of their status. The girl is holding a large cross in her hands. Alphana says that the magic Kanata demonstrated was so wonderful. The girl says that she used brute force, and the young man's spell was extremely accurate. All the classmates are shocked by her words. Far away, the teacher standing near the target turns around and thinks that Alphana has amazing control, but an inexperienced magician will not be able to notice anything. The man is definitely amazed at such skill. Alphana puts pressure on everyone with her strength, and says that students have no right to say this to anyone, especially to a person who is more talented than them. The girl says that nobles should not consider themselves to be someone special. The students ask her for forgiveness. The saint says that it is bitter and insulting for her to watch such scenes. All classmates are practically on their knees in front of the girl. There is a huge shadow behind her, which terrifies everyone. Alphana says that all the classmates have disgraced themselves. Behind the girl stands a huge frightening skeleton with a huge cross in his hands. The saint looks at all the disciples with serious eyes. Obviously, she's not joking. Kanata looks at the whole scene and thinks that he enjoys watching others being scolded. But the young man thinks that his classmates see something that he does not see, because their reaction is quite strange. Arrogant classmates are pinned to the ground by the powerful force of Alphana. Young people cannot get up from the ground. They struggle to get up, leaning on their hands. Kanata thinks it's too dramatic for them. The students look at him angrily. Embittered classmates look at the hero and think that because of him, they received a reprimand not only from Princess Mary, but also from Saint Alphana. Kanata sees their attitude and thinks that because of this, they began to hate him even more. Sometime later, on a lunch break, Kanata sits alone on a special structure and eats. The young man thinks that he has not been able to talk to Alphana properly. The hero looks thoughtfully ahead. The young man finishes his sandwich and thinks that everything is not so bad because he has his listeners. The hero is a little upset. Kanata decides not to be sad. The hero raises his hands high in the air and thinks that he now needs to come up with a new greeting for the stream. This thought lifts the young man's mood. The hero says the greeting aloud on the stream. First, he greets the audience and apologizes for the long wait. Then the hero urges everyone to start, and so on. He doesn't notice that a girl is approaching him from behind. The young man feels someone's presence and hears the footsteps of an approaching person. Kanata turns back sharply. The hero sees a girl in front of him and his eyes get bigger from surprise. Alphana smiles sweetly at the young man and asks who he was talking to just now. Kanata did not expect Alphana to come to him. This unexpected meeting during the lunch break scares Kanata as he may be exposed. Surprised by the unexpected appearance of Alphana, a young man asks the girl what she is doing here. Kanata is definitely nervous in the presence of a saint. The girl is standing in front of him. Kanata got up from his seat in surprise and embarrassment. Alphana says that she decided to explore the academy a little and, while walking, she ended up here. Suddenly, the girl laughs mysteriously and lowers her head down. Alphana gets too close to the young man and tells him that they have met again. The girl calls the hero a kind person and puts a strong emphasis on this appeal. Kanata is amazed by this behavior. The young man looks at Alphana from above. The hero asks if she is the same young lady whom he helped to escape from a rude man on the street. Alphana bites her lip and blushes. Her nose and cheeks are covered with a slight blush. The saint confirms the young man's guess and demands that his reference be removed. She says that she wants the hero to address her as before, without unnecessary formalities. Kanata does not believe her words and confusedly asks again. The young man agrees and says that he understood the girl's request. Alphana thanks the young man. The girls are sincerely glad that Kanata agreed to contact her without formalities. Suddenly, Kanata realizes that he is alone with the saint right now. The hero is afraid that someone might notice them. The young man thinks he should run away before anyone sees them together. The frightened Kanata looks around carefully, looking for those who can see them. Suddenly, Alphana takes the young man by the hand. The hero pulls back a little from the surprise. The girl wants to tell him something. Smiling charmingly, Alphana holds the hero's palm in both hands and asks if he would mind if she called him by name. The girl suggests that he call her Alphana. There is hope in her eyes for the consent of the hero. Kanata asks in surprise if he can just call her by her first name. The young man says that the girl did not like this treatment in the morning. The hero remembers how Alphana put one of her classmates in his place for such behavior. The saint sits down on a bench and crushes an imaginary classmate with her foot, whom she put in place. The girl says she wants Kanata to address her by her first name. She's putting the emphasis on it again. Alphana tells the hero that they already know each other, so she really hopes that he will fulfill her request. The girl winks coquettishly at the young man and smiles sweetly, covering her smile with her palm. Kanata looks at her with incomprehension and reluctantly agrees, because the girl strongly insists. The young man clears his throat and pronounces the first letter of the girl's name. Then, the hero pronounces Alphina's name in full. From what he heard, Alphan's body seemed to be electrocuted. The girl blushes instantly, and her body becomes different. She is trembling in bed. With distraught eyes, she looks at the young man and calls him by name. Kanata looks at the girl and does not understand what happened to her. It seems to the hero as if Alphana was intoxicated by something, but the girl still seems very nice to the young man. Kanata thinks she has a great personality and a beautiful body. While the young man is thinking how perfect Alphana would be, her soul seems to have left her mistress's body and is trying to fly away. She thinks that Kanata called her by her first name, and it means something. The girl can't believe her luck. The shocked and delighted Alphana thinks that when Kanata called her by name in this way, he gave his consent to the conclusion of their marriage. A young man who doesn't understand anything is still standing in front of a girl. Love is blind, that's what they say. Love-obsessed people tend to exaggerate every little thing. While the girl is immersed in her fantasies, Kanata tries to call her and bring her to her senses. But Kanata didn't notice any of this. The young man waves his hands in front of Alphana's face and asks her if she is asleep. The girl does not answer and continues to fantasize. The hero could not possibly know about the hidden desires that lurked inside the girl. Alphana finally came to her senses. The young man asks if the girl has woken up, and she tells him that she dozed off while apologizing. The action takes place the next day at the academy. The bright rays of the sun illuminate everything around and fall on the elegantly decorated building of the educational institution. Kanata walks into the classroom and thinks about where he should sit today. Some students are still in the hallway. Two girls are having fun talking about something. Entering the classroom, the young man immediately notices Alphana. The hero thinks that the girl came without delay, as he expected from her. The girl has already been surrounded by classmates and are trying to get her attention and make friends with her. Someone comes into the classroom. The stranger apologizes and enters Kanata's class. For some reason, all the classmates of the young man are very surprised by the appearance of the girl. The hero notices their surprised exclamations and also looks at the girl at the entrance. Maria is standing in the doorway. The girl tries not to attract attention, but her appearance still cannot go unnoticed. Classmates can't believe their eyes. Someone says that the girl is Mrs. Maria from the SSS class. Maria tries not to notice all the attention that is being paid to her now. The girl calls Alfana and asks her to come to her for a minute. Alfana gets up from her seat and goes to the princess. The girl greets Maria and says that they haven't seen each other for a long time. Maria also approaches her friend. It seems that there is a strained relationship between them. Suddenly, Maria touches Alfana's face in a friendly way and asks her why the girl did not tell her anything about her transfer to the academy. Alfana laughs and apologizes to her friend. Kanata looks at two beautiful girls and thinks that they look like celebrities from his simple life. Other classmates say that the girls are too dazzling and painfully beautiful. Alfana tells Maria that she just wanted to feel the atmosphere of the academy. The girl breaks off and clearly wants to say something else. Maria listens attentively to her friend and looks at her. Maria asks what else Alfana wanted to say, but the girl says that's all. The saint turns slightly and seems to be looking back somewhere. Kanata continues to watch their conversation. Looking at the two girls, classmates think that they are very beautiful and refined. Some say they don't know how to even approach them. The students really want to talk to Maria and Alfana. They want to be with them. Kanata looks at them and thinks that the girls are calmly continuing the conversation, even though they are the center of attention. This is obvious to the hero, because the girls are obviously used to being in public and do not see any problem with this. The young man continues to look at the girls. He thinks they look like they're not interested in what's going on around them at all. The girls are under everyone's gaze, but they don't even try to hide from them. The hero thinks that the girls still respond to those who talk to them. Maria always looks at everyone with an indifferent face, and Alfana smiles falsely. The young man thinks that such a reaction sometimes looks too unnatural. Kanata suddenly remembers how Alfana smiled at him yesterday and how Maria gave him advice a few days ago. The hero does not realize that the girls turn on a certain filter with him, especially for him. Girls are only nice to him. Without this filter, Alfana's fake smile is a simple courtesy, and Maria's advice is nothing more than a warning not to create unnecessary problems for anyone. Since the hero does not know about the attitude of the girls towards him, he thinks that he just imagined it. Kanata thinks he's probably getting too hung up on it. The hero remembers how angry Alfana was at the behavior of arrogant and rude classmates and told them to know their place. The young man looks at Maria and Alfana. The girls turn to everyone so that they could be seen better. Maria asks if anyone will notice if she stays here for class. Alfana says she will be caught pretty quickly. Kanata thinks he's a little sad to be alone because it's pretty boring. The hero came up with something and decided to act immediately. A classmate is sitting behind him reading something. The young man turns to a classmate with the idea that he could use a couple of friends. With his sharp turn and unexpected attention, the hero attracts the attention of a classmate with a book. Kanata greets the young man amiably and asks him what he had for dinner yesterday. A rude classmate tells the hero to shut up. He is clearly annoyed that Kanata decided to talk to him and get to know him better. Frustrated, Kanata puts his head on the table and thinks how much everyone hates him in class. This attempt to make friends turned out to be a complete failure. A classmate says out loud that Kanata thinks of himself as something because he knows how to do a little magic. The young man says that then he just wants to get some sleep. Maria hears his voice. A shiver runs through the girl's body. Her expression changes. The young man's voice clearly seemed familiar to her. While Kanata is falling asleep, he thinks that the viewers on the stream today will comfort him and calms down a little. Maria looks at the young man. The hero does not notice her attention. Alfana notices a change in Maria's behavior and asks her what happened. Maria replies that she is fine. The princess was obviously thinking about something and touched her face with her hand. Alfana is surprised by her behavior. The action takes place at the same time in the Xandard Empire in an unknown mansion. Two men stand on either side of a table completely covered with gold coins. Apparently, this is a huge amount of money. An unknown man in a suit crushed a terminal with the Haitian logo on a small screen with the heel of his boot. A man in a raven mask stands in front of him. A man with a mustache and a suit tells a masked man, addressing him by the name Raven, that he has an order for a raven. An unknown man in a raven mask and a black suit radiates oppressive energy. Raven replies to the man that he listens attentively to his order. In a stone alley, a man stands with his arms crossed over his chest in a dark, long cloak and hood with a mask resembling a raven's beak, with a sword on his belt, asking the man opposite him whom he should kill. The interlocutor with long straight hair and a satisfied grin slightly covers his face with his hand and, addressing the man in the raincoat as a raven, stops his interest, asking him not to rush things. The raven stands with his head down, saying nothing and preparing to listen to further instructions from the man. Meanwhile, a sound is coming from the cracked phone lying on the table. The young man, lying on his desk, thinks about the raven. At the same time, two girls sitting next to him say that they have also heard about him and do not believe in his existence. Maria says that the other day he was in Mitre. The girls look at the map and realize that it is about 100 kilometers away from them, and suddenly, they too will become a target of the raven. The heroines worry that they are from a family of vicious aristocrats. Raven doesn't seem to go that far, interfering with his conversations with a dark-haired guy who continues to lie on the desk. The young man rises from his desk, with a dissatisfied and thoughtful face, hearing further the girls' conversations about the fact that the family of one of them is not involved in dirty deeds and Raven would not do such a thing. The guy plunges deeper into his thoughts and thinks about the raven, whether it's a bird or an assassin, imagining him as a guy in a tuxedo, sunglasses, a hat with a gun. Kanata recalls that he received some scraps of information from his listeners. Allegedly, the raven is an unscrupulous person and will kill anyone for a fee. But he thought that these were some kind of stories, because the information about him is contradictory. Waking up from his thoughts, the guy decided that it was none of his business and decided to sleep until the next lesson, laying down comfortably on the desk. The same phone beeps somewhere. At this moment, Raven and his employer are standing in a richly furnished room, and the second, in turn, is surprised that a living legend has appeared in the Xandard Empire. Raven, having listened to the pleasantries in his direction, turns away from the interlocutor, who did not appreciate this gesture, and asks him to tell better what his purpose is. The mercenary, spreading his hands, turns around and notices that, unlike the man, he does not have time for idle chatter. The client, dissatisfied with the mercenary's rude communication, barely had time to frown in indignation, as his indignation turned to panic. The killer, enraged by the audacity of the customer, immediately moved, taking up a threatening stance, ready for a lightning lunge to remind who dictates the rules here. Stunned by the unexpected threat from the raven, the man crouches down in confusion, trying to keep his balance. His look at the mercenary, who warns that he will not repeat it. Unable to withstand the tension, the man loses his balance, falls to the floor, and shouts his consent in despair. The client seethes with rage, his muscles tense as he clenches his fist in a fit of anger, and shouts that the killer's target is the bastard Haishin, who influences the politics of an entire country. Next to the other lies the device from which the sounds were made. The mercenary stands motionless, towering over the man who is sitting on the floor in complete helplessness. Despite the fear and humiliation, the client does not stop making accusations. He furiously explains that because of Haishin's propaganda, slavery was abolished and his businesses collapsed, leaving him practically bankrupt. Raven interrupts the outraged aristocrat, making it clear that he is not interested in complaints. He understood everything. The client gets down to business, explaining that there is no specific deadline for completing the task, and the target hides his identity, which makes it difficult to find. He adds that the money for the task can be taken in advance. The mercenary turns away from the client, throwing over his shoulder that he does not need the money. The man, confused, asks a question, assuming that Raven wants to receive payment only after completing the task. Completely turning away from the confused aristocrat, the killer calmly declares that he is not going to take this task. In response, the customer's indignant voice is heard demanding to explain the reason for the refusal. Without having time to ask a question and comprehend what is happening, the raven with a sharp movement takes off the head of the aristocrat from his shoulders with his sword. The head flies off the body, which, having lost its balance, falls on a table filled with coins and smashes it with a crash, scattering gold coins to the sides. Raven, carefully sheathing the sword, decides that the client is dead. There is no request, which means there is nothing to pay for. Hearing the crash, the servants who were in the house hurried to call the owner. Without waiting for an answer, she entered the room where she found the decapitated man, and when she saw the corpse, she screamed in horror at the whole house. The raven soars into the air and leaps swiftly across the roofs in the midnight darkness. Under the moonlight, he reaches one of the tall buildings. A man in a dark raincoat finds himself on the chapel, which he quickly reaches and stops, standing on the building to catch his breath. Raven stretches lazily, stretches his numb arms, and then touches his cloak with his palm, saying that he is uncomfortable in these clothes. Tearing off her cape, a girl with short hair turns out to be under it. With a sneer, the girl thinks out loud that the jerk was going to kill Mr. Heishin. She takes off her mask, fixed on elastic bands, and now nothing hides her face. With one hand, the girl leans on the ledge of the chapel building, in the other she holds her raven mask, saying that jerks like him should be cut right away, and not wait. The clock strikes loudly, notifying that it is 6 o'clock, deafening the slightly sitting girl. She takes out her mobile device, holding it in her hands, remembers that the broadcast is about to begin. As soon as the girl hears a voice from her receiver greeting the assembled listeners, and immediately shouts joyfully, because this voice belongs to her beloved Mr. Heishin. The people gathered at the bell tower do not understand why the birds are screaming so loudly, but in fact it was the squeaks and screeches of the one who hid under the title of the legendary killer, another Yandere listener. A voice comes from the phone telling me how much has happened. The girl presses her ear to the phone, saying that now every evening she spends waiting for the stream. For her, this pleasant voice seems to heal the soul. The girl has thoughts in her head about how the gentleman will scold her, calling her a bad girl. She is slightly embarrassed by them, saying that she wants to be scolded by Mr. Heishin because, in fact, now she is a murderer who is shirking from work. Raven realizes that she listened to everything that Heishin said because he ends up saying that's the problem. For herself, the girl decides that she needs to be more attentive and her gaze, like her face, becomes more serious. The guy, sitting in front of the monitor, says that he did everything possible, tried to talk to someone, make friends. The young man enthusiastically talks about it, shares his thoughts. He gets upset, makes a sad face, complains because the first person he met sent him, saying shut up. Therefore, Heishin asks the audience to comfort and regret. Raven clutches his phone while listening to the hero's podcast. She begins to cry, saying that she feels very sorry for Mr. Heishin because his voice is trembling. The girl says that she would never harm another person despite the fact that she recently cut off the head of a nobleman. Another Yandere is angry, screaming, clutching a device in her hands. She doesn't understand what kind of worm dared to talk to Heishin like that at all. Despite what she heard, she is grateful to the guy that he pleases with his beautiful voice, despite the circumstances. Another heroine, with black hair, mockingly says that this is not surprising, because the squad of heroes also begins their speech with insults and immediately receive a curse in the forehead. Alfana is unhappy that she was inattentive, and did not even notice what the guy was talking about, but at the same moment he can be heard saying from the receivers that he was joking. The young man asks his listeners how to imitate tears. He holds out a glass in his hand, saying that he used ordinary water because they could not notice him. But Heishin adds that he really is not very well liked at the academy. There is a strong reaction in the comments. The audience wrote that they believed the truth and almost burst into tears themselves. Then the hero apologizes for the deception and thanks for all the kind words of support addressed to him. One of the comments catches Heishin's attention. Someone asked how the guy would like to punish the brute. He begins to talk about this topic. It turns out that the comment was sent by Raven. She brings the phone closer to her, asking rhetorically if Mr. Heishin has answered her message. The guy says that instead of revenge, he would prefer to give his abuser a second chance. The young man continues to say that even if it doesn't work out, then suddenly everything will come down to small talk. Having joined closer to the phone, Raven considers everything said to be incredibly generous and writes the following comment. The words, "If it's not enough, then tell me," appear on the guy's screen. Heishin laughs, saying that just sympathy will be enough. The girl rises, asking again if just sympathy is enough. She gets up and walks to the locked door, boarded up, standing in front of it. Raven pulls out a sword, saying that he will kill anyone for the sake of Mr. Heishin. Raven cuts open the door with one swing of his sword and a whole pile of skulls appears in front of her, spilling out to her feet. She looks at them with complete indifference. Picking up one of the skulls, the girl clutches the hilt of her sword in one hand, the skull in the other, putting it to her shoulder and says into the void that it is enough to pronounce her name and there will be no trace of the offenders. Meanwhile, the guy continues to read the comments that are so actively written to him, and wipe away tears of joy, because all his listeners are kind and good people. The action shifts to the royal capital, the red light district. There is a girl standing at the entrance to the building, chatting with some man. Inspired by the impressions of the meeting, the man tells Kana, the girl at the entrance, that they will meet again soon. As soon as the client leaves the field of view, the girl returns to the interior of the building. After entering the room, Kana addresses the owner. He turns his head in her direction, saying that she did a good job and he has already changed the bed linen. The girl thanks him for this. The owner looks at the girl of easy virtue standing next to her and thinks that all her clients are satisfied after meeting her, so it's not surprising that here, in this place, she is number one. Smiling, the mature charm that drives men crazy says that she is just a pro of this elite brothel, so she does her job without any shame. Taking advantage of the moment, the girl asks the owner if she can leave on a very urgent and important matter. The man understands what she is talking about and reflects that he would listen to the stream himself, but he still has a lot of work to do. After going into a separate room, Kana quickly takes off her dress and carefully hangs it in her wardrobe. Left completely naked, the girl turns to someone's voice saying that she has bright red hair, blue eyes, and a curvy body. Kana is already in her 20s, but every day she blooms and becomes more and more beautiful. Covering her soft forms, the girl throws a pillow at the brothel owner standing in the doorway, shouting at him to get away. It is getting dark outside the windows of the building. The night is coming imperceptibly. Covered with a thick blanket, the girl, lying on her side, argues that today was a beautiful day. Now he's going to get even better, and it's all thanks to Mr. Haishin. Picking up her phone, the girl looks in anticipation because very soon the stream will begin, which has been haunting her thoughts all day. The clock is striking 8, the alarm clock is ringing, notifying the start of the stream, and now Haishin's voice is heard from the phone, greeting everyone who gathered on his stream. At this point, the girl goes berserk. She begins to stare madly, licking her phone, saying that she was incredibly waiting for Mr. Haishin. The princess, the demon lord, the holy assassin, and now the courtesans are among the believers. The hero's voice was able to penetrate even those industries that he did not expect. From the receiver, Kana hears the gentleman telling her that something has happened. She pricked up her ears, asking rhetorically if he might have difficulties too. The girl covers herself with a blanket, saying that if Mr. Haishin were here, next to her, she would heal him with everything she has, because he has become a salvation for those who are in the same place as Kana and in the same position. Kana was born in a slum and had nothing to do with the elite environment she is in now. To survive, she first got a job at a bar, drank with guests, and later rose to the rank of a courtesan, spending nights with men. Sitting at the same table, Kana, along with her friends, discusses that they are still young, but will lose customers as soon as they get older. The girl with the short haircut says that then she will have to go back to the slums, but Kana does not want to think about it. The girl remembers that she changed places until she finally found a normal owner. The previous one did nothing but call the girls in the brothel dirty, treated them rudely, and the current one praises them, saying that the customers are satisfied. Kana is pulled out of her thoughts by someone else's cry, dissatisfied, informing her that some unknown girl was lying. In fact, it wasn't just the future that bothered all three of them. Two guys sitting not far from the heroines are discussing a recent incident. One of them says how lucky a friend was to find out that before the engagement, he found out that his fiancée was a brothel worker. The other replies that he broke up with her right away, because otherwise such a marriage would be a disgrace to the family. Prostitutes had a low status in society. They were treated like dirt. Hearing all this, the courtesans got angry. They were clutching the table, tears were in their eyes, and then Kana offered to go back to her room. Back at the brothel, the owner of the establishment finds out about what happened, and therefore suggests that the girls listen to Haishin to forget about the bad, because the broadcast will begin soon. On the screen, the hero has a comment that says that he is not popular with girls. This angers the hero. He considers the comment stupid, because its author himself does not understand anything about the topic he is talking about. Everyone in the room bursts into laughter, listening to the broadcast of the hero, considering him very cute and funny. The same person, in turn, begins to move on to the next email that he received on his stream. The beginning of it says that the author was obsessed with cleanliness and recently saw something terrifying on the street. Haishin thinks about it, puts his hand to his lips, and asks into the void what the sender noticed. Three girls listening to Mr. Haishin's stream, where the commentator's words are pronounced that some woman of easy virtue was cooing with a man and that such garbage should not pollute the city. Kana has an expression of displeasure on her face from these words of the streamer, at the same time saying that the commentator is a bastard. The other two girls are in a drooping state, crying and saying that they will always be treated like dirt. They just wanted to get out of hell in the past. The first girl tries to calm her friends down with the man, telling them not to listen to the insults of the commentators in their direction. The streamer is outraged by the comment and exclaims that no one gave the person who wrote it the right to speak like that and judge people by their profession. This job is no worse than the rest. Girls who sell their bodies choose it against their will. Most of them are trying to survive. After hearing the streamer's opinion, the comments began to fill up with opinions about his correctness. Haitian urges us to stop treating these girls like trash, because this profession also benefits, and everyone needs to reconsider their attitude. The streamer enthusiastically jumps up with his hand in the air, continuing to insist that the girls work hard to keep customers happy, that he would like to live in a world where there is no need to be ashamed of his work. At this time, the tears of listeners were shed in the brothels of the country. The broadcast caused a huge public outcry, and as a result, the kingdom changed its attitude towards girls of easy virtue, making it much easier for them to live. After a while, Kana, lying on the bed, listens to Haitian's stream on the phone, thanks him, and says that she does not know how in other countries, but they began to treat them much better. The girl is distracted from her thoughts by the streamer's words that he wanted to make friends with someone, but the first thing they told him was to shut up. At this time, a man knocks and enters Kana's room, who forgot to say something but is scared by an angry and screaming girl that someone dared to shut up Mr. Haitian. The other girls of easy virtue who worshipped Haitian were as outraged as Kana. The topic of who offended Haitian was discussed for some time in all the brothels of the country. A week later, Kanata, walking through the city, thinks about how he is dying of hunger, hoping that fresh bread has not yet been sorted. The hero meets a girl in a dress on the street, who is surprised by the coincidence and asks if the guy's name is Kanata. He in turn is stunned by the appearance of a beautiful blonde girl who is Princess Maria. Kanata whispers, covering her mouth with her hand, "Is it good that the girl walks down the street alone?" To which she receives a positive response. The guy turns out to have a different opinion when the interlocutor says that she is sure an elderly man, her subordinate, is already rushing to them. Kanata says that he doesn't care and he will go on, but the girl stops him, grabbing his hand. Maria awkwardly snuggles up to him, wondering if the guy is busy, no less embarrassed by this behavior of the princess. Kanata asks what the girl means. With a blush on her cheeks and a smile, the girl raises her finger up and invites them to take a walk. Kanata, who is in an awkward position, tries to get rid of Maria, because if anyone sees them, his school life will turn into hell, although he would love to walk with her. The guy is thinking about what to do, how to refuse the girl, but she distracts him with some noise and asks if Kanata hears him. Suddenly, Maria takes off and runs away, grabbing the hand of a confused guy and leading him along. A scream is heard on the street. The girl slows down sharply around the corner, and the characters see a picture where Kana stands in the unwanted arms of a man and tries to escape, accompanied by attempts to scream for the man to let her go. The man, grinning, is outraged by the attitude towards him because he is a nobleman, to which Kana says that she knows about it and does not care. Maria and Kanata look at each other seriously. The guy makes a joke that the walk is cancelled and gets the consent of the princess. The heroes who came to the rescue go to Kan. The nobleman, who did not expect the rescuers, froze when he noticed them. Kanata and Maria, standing in confident poses, ready to deal with a bad man to a girl in broad daylight, tell a man to take his hands off him. Kanata squeezes her hand, from which a green glow appears. He is aggressively opposed to the nobleman who dared to touch Kana. Maria also uses magic, demanding that the stranger remove his hands, because the courtesan does not like everything that is happening. The man looks ahead at the heroes, still holding Kana hostage, asking what the hell they are doing and yelling at them not to interfere in his affairs. At this moment, Kana looks around in fright. Princess Mary's gaze is cold and calculating. She doesn't say a word, just looks angrily at the aristocrat. At this moment, the green-haired nobleman throws Kana away from himself, turning his attention to Maria. He holds out his hand to her, saying how beautiful she is. With contempt, the girl throws away someone else's hand and hits it, which is why the boy aches and recoils a little. He is angry about what happened. He insults Maria and screams at the top of his voice that he will tear her up. The aristocrat clenches his hand into a fist and prepares to attack. At this moment, the hero arrived. He grabs the man by the shoulder and asks him to calm down. Kanata then uses his magic and a green light pours out of his hand. Literally, in one movement, the guy was able to immobilize the aristocrat and knock him down with all his stupidity to the ground, and he did not have time to orient himself at all. The man clenches his teeth, grunts, and tries to lean on the ground to get up, but he can't, because the powerful magical pressure has made his body terribly heavy. Kanata opens one eye slightly and sighs, saying that in a few minutes the magical effect will pass, and now the captured person should try to behave quietly. Princess Maria praises Kanata for his speed and abilities, and then runs away, ordering the guy to hold the criminal. When asked where she goes, the girl does not answer anything. The aristocrat continues to be outraged, because an ordinary commoner has raised his hand to the highest stratum of society and does not even worry about the consequences. Kanata says that this is an ordinary self-defense and he is not in danger for the act he committed. Meanwhile, Kana is watching everything that is happening. She clasps her hands and apologizes, because this man has caused trouble. The guy's mind runs over the fact that the girl in front of him is just incredibly beautiful and attractive. The young man thinks that this is the type that drives all men crazy. Despite his inventions, Kanata asks the girl if she is okay, not injured. Kana replies that nothing happened to her and explains that the same aristocrat wanted to buy her, but was refused. Then, not fully understanding what this means, the hero decides to clarify, but a captured nobleman intervenes in the dialogue. Raising his head, the man says that brats like the main character should not pry into other people's affairs, and the girl he communicates with is actually a dirty and vile courtesan. Kanata asks again what is meant. Shouting at the top of his voice, the nobleman explains that he liked Kana very much, so he wants to take her for himself, but she dared to refuse. Snorting, the girl herself complains that the unpleasant person seems to be obsessed with this idea, and such a scenario only makes the hero laugh. Kanata lies down right on the ground, next to the aristocrat nailed to her, and pokes him in the forehead, asking where such a piece of shit came from in the first place and what right does he have to discriminate against people based on their occupation. The young man continues to say that prostitution, unlike kidnapping, is not prohibited. At this moment, Kana thinks that this voice and manner of speech are similar to someone. A voice is heard from somewhere asking what the noise is now. It seems that the questioners understood where the sounds were coming from. At this moment, some onlookers turn the corner, pointing at all three of them. For an aristocrat, this seems to be a great opportunity. A nobleman lying on the ground shouts to the crowd that the guy attacked the nobleman and will reward whoever grabs him. Kanata turns to the offender, not expecting such a thing from him. Maria, standing in the crowd, laughs and tells the nobleman that he is an idiot because she called the assembled people. Pleased with her actions, the princess tells everyone how a brave student protected a girl from an aristocrat who had fallen below the moral standards. Maria apologizes for the delay in front of the rope and chuckles contentedly. The losing nobleman jumps up from the ground and runs with insults towards the princess, who has called a crowd of spectators. Kanata stands, marveling at the man's rapid recovery, thinking that he came to his senses so quickly. The nobleman, who did not manage to reach Maria, is arrested by the royal guard in armor with swords, who knocks him back to the ground in the confusion among the crowd, and the princess adds to her statement that he is now an arrested aristocrat who has fallen below moral standards. The stunned nobleman exclaims where the royal guard came from, to which Kana sighs and remarks that he is an idiot, because in front of him is a man of much higher status than any aristocrat, the third Princess Maria. The nobleman is in even greater shock and cannot believe that such a thing can happen. Maria, glowing with happiness, joyfully thanks Kanata for the timely detention of the nobleman because she was able to organize his public arrest, which the embarrassed guy waves off, saying that it's nothing. With his hand behind his head, Kanata listens to Maria, who says that this aristocrat did not really have time to do anything, so the worst that awaits him is deportation to the empire. One of the soldiers of the royal guard approached the princess with a proposal to discuss a new security plan, to which she agreed. Satisfied with the turn of events that ended well, Kanata thinks with a smile that everything ended well, but it seems that the princess's security will be strengthened. A girl came up from behind, trying to attract the guy's attention by coughing. Putting his hand to the chest of the Khan is reminiscent of Salvation, who was scared and forgot about this rope. The girl gently took his palm with two of her own hands, embarrassed and smiling, thanking him for saving and approving her work. Kana continued to hold the guy, looking at his hand. The hero shrugs it off and says that everything that happened is nothing, and why shouldn't the girl let him go? A memory flashes through Kana's mind. An image where her favorite streamer, Haishin, showed his hands on the stream and compares them with the hand of the savior. Suspecting something was wrong, Kana asks for the guy's name. Surprised, he says his name is Kanata. The girl remembers it and grins to herself. Without ending the conversation, the girl continues to tell the perplexed hero that, given her experience, she is observant when it comes to men. The girl pronounces her name Kana, straightening her immodest dress and taking out a piece of paper, receiving a question from Kanata for this gesture. Kana says she would like Kanata to call her that the next time they meet and hands him that piece of paper. She instructs to show this note to the administrator of the brothel in order for the visitor to be taken to her. The guy who turned away from Cans began to examine the note, but not letting her forget about herself, the girl called out to him again. The girl carefully, covering her mouth with her hand, began to whisper in the ear of the wary hero that if he suddenly wanted to relax, she would not take money from him. Grinning with a surprised Kanata holding his hand on his ear, Kana said goodbye to the guy, going to work. Kanata, who had opened his mouth from unexpected events, watched his companion with wide-open eyes. Maria came up from behind. Once again frightened by someone's appearance, the guy became the object of Maria's attention, who suddenly hugged him from behind, looking discontentedly after the departing Kana and grumbling that she was still a cheat. It was dark outside, which Maria and Kanata noticed. They think it's time for them to go back to the dorm. Waving his hand, Kanata turned away from the princess, saying that it was time to leave, and saying goodnight, wandered away. But Maria stopped him abruptly again, pulling on his vest. Dissatisfied with the abrupt departure of the young man, the princess began to resent why he did not offer to accompany her, because they were on their way. Embarrassed, Kanata turned around and did not understand Maria's objections, because if they were seen together at the academy, it would be bad. After being refused, the princess was upset. It seemed to her that Katana looked like something like Haishin, who would surely accompany her home. After a while, the detained aristocrat hooligan, sitting in a cage, listens to his sentence that tomorrow he will be deported to his homeland, but in the meantime, he must think about his behavior. The disgruntled man swears and thinks it's better for him never to mess with the princess again. Twisting a displeased grimace, the prisoner remembers what happened and blames Kanata for everything, because he is just a dirty commoner and made a complete fool of him. Having memorized his name, he realizes that this is all the information he needs to know. Kanata and Princess Maria are still walking together, down the street of the city. Maria easily mentions that the old man scolds her for leaving without permission. The guy is surprised that she didn't tell anyone about leaving at all. The main character, sitting in the house and streaming, reads the comment. The viewer asks how Haishin feels about his influence. He thinks about it because he doesn't have much influence, he just says what he thinks. The guy decides to assume that if he suddenly has power and he would like to take over the world, then how would the rest of the audience react to this? The girls, as one, begin to write that they would try to help in any way they could. Another one says that she would use all her strength to throw the world at the feet of the Lord, while the rest killed those who would be against and cleanse the world to create a new order on earth. The guy immediately tries to justify himself, says that he is not interested in conquests. It was all a joke that should not be taken seriously. After thinking for a while, the young man remembers that in a previous life there was a streamer who made a bad joke and it all turned into a big scandal, so you need to be careful what you say. In the comments, everyone writes how they would like to help the main character, and he replies that he is planning something more than simple chatter and is going to develop his content, so he asks to follow the news. The guy decided that he wanted to do the same thing as the bloggers in his previous life. Now the camera shows only his hands, but he plans to make it portable and name his live Haitian's Travels. At this moment, the stream receives a donation with a characteristic squeaking sound. It says on the screen that the nameless princess loves the hero, and he replies that he also loves her. This causes Maria to have an unrestrained fit of joy. They hug themselves and scream, not even paying attention to the fact that the guy supplemented his words with love for all the other listeners. The guy turns away from the screen, thinking that he somehow felt uncomfortable from such a statement. Even a chill ran through his skin. He hears a strange bird cry, but in fact it is the sounds that Maria makes. They even reach the streamer. The next day, the young man finds himself back in class and terribly sleepy. He hears the girls sitting nearby discussing that Agil Trace is Haishin. This statement surprises Kanata, and he even listens to what is being said. The hero watches in horror as the girls argue whether the same Agil is similar or not. One of the boy's classmates believes that this is definitely not Trace from the SS class, because the real Haishin is a commoner, while an elite class student from an influential noble family. The young man realizes that there are his listeners in the class, but he cannot say that he is the real Haishin. When you become famous, there are always some fakes, so the main character is going to expose this lie on the stream. But the catch is that it will be too suspicious. The audience will understand that Haishin is from the same school. Another idea arises to say that what I heard earlier was a tit from the outside. The guy leans on his desk, thinking that he can't stand aristocrats who look down on others, but this imposter interested him, so Kanata leaves the classroom with a thoughtful look. At the same moment, the saint thinks about something of her own and follows the hero with her gaze, without answering her friend's questions about her thoughts. The main character reaches the SS class and stops when he hears a voice coming from there. Someone is furiously trying to prove that he is the real Haishin. Kanata looks into the office where the guy is sitting and asks why no one believes him, because he is the real streamer. The young man understands that they will most likely figure it out without him. Classmates of the same fake streamer consider Aguila a liar. The guy thinks that it's not enough to just give his name, and the whole situation resembles fake accounts, just like in his previous life. Kanata decides to find out why an SS class student is trying to impersonate Haishin and conduct his own investigation. After school, Agil takes out all his anger on the fence, kicks him, shouting that no one has seen the face of this unfortunate commoner, so why don't people want to listen and believe the nobleman, the class to which the whole world belongs? At this time, the main character is sitting in the grass and listening to everything. The young man followed the same aristocrat and found out that he wanted to improve the situation of his family, use the streamer's listeners to his advantage, and receive donations from them. That's why he's pretending. The real Haishin sitting in the grass is thinking about what a cretin this guy is, because he won't succeed, because broadcasting requires boundless magical power. A girl crept up from behind, saying that the gentleman had deprived this guy of his mind. Taking off her glasses and being scared, Katana looks at two girls who came out of nowhere. They say that idiot has gone too far, there is no way to save him. Leaning on his elbows, Katana asks how long these girls have been with him, to which they apologize, because they have business with Aguila. The girl confusedly asks the guy if he knows Haishin, to which Kanata exclaims, and asks again what she means. Alfana admits that she is a fan of the gentleman, to which Katana and Maria are genuinely surprised. 3 minutes ago, the girls noticed him on the street, hiding behind him in the bushes. Alfana reveals that Maria is also a fan of Mr. Haishin, guessing that she does not seem to know who Kanata is. Continuing to confess, Alfana notices that she rarely manages to relax, but as soon as Mr. Haishin's voice reaches her ears, her heart immediately finds peace. Giggling, the narrator believes that Maria has the same thing, to which Maria herself is outraged by the secret given out. Katana is sitting apart from the girls and is shocked by the girls' confessions. The guy posing as Haishin is mad because everyone around him is talking about the Lord. He's sick of these fanatics. Angry at this situation, the girls decided to take action and sort out the situation. Maria notices that she successfully, accidentally, took a sword with her, and her friend Alfana with a cross says that the guy must atone for his sins. Remembering the presence of Kanata, the girls cooled their ardor and realized that they were not particularly rampant. The guy, in turn, is happy that the princess and the saint are his listeners, but is confused by the fact that he was discussing how the princess's country should be organized. Maria, who came up from behind, upset, tells Kanata, who is sitting on the ground, that he does not seem to care much about what is happening. Turning her head in displeasure, the girl continues to say that she cannot afford for someone to try to humiliate people who are dear to her. The praised Kanata agrees with Maria's opinion and thinks about how kind she is after all. Recalling himself, Alfana, with a sad expression on his face, tells the guy who got up from the ground that he is also not going to forgive Aguila and is interested in his opinion about the situation at Kanata. The guy asks again if the girl is interested in his opinion, to which he receives a positive answer. Maria stands behind, thoughtful but listening to them. The guy's plan is that to begin with, Agil must be convinced not to lie anymore, because the real Haishin will not be happy with too harsh punishment. The main thing is repentance. Suddenly, a large dark ball suddenly appears on the wall, kicking dissatisfied Aguila. Kanata looks out from behind the bushes, stunned by what happened, and asks what it was and where Agil went. Equally surprised, Maria says that it was as if something had swallowed him up. It's strange. Maria calls out to Alfana, who is sitting on the ground, to which she says with a serious face that she felt demonic power. A thunderstorm sparkles above the castle, thunder breaks through the dark sky, and birds circle around. A rough and serious voice is heard. Someone calls the unfortunate little man. On the towering staircase of the castle entrance, two demons appeared in front of Agil with a flash of light. A demoness named Shroza, in a rude, harsh tone, asks the guy standing in front of her, trembling in fear, if he called himself Haitian. Terrified to the extreme, Agil, holding his chest with his hand, feels that his heart is almost sinking into his heels. The aura of this girl does not even allow him to speak. The second demon who appeared tells his mistress, standing next to her, that this guy in front of them is an imposter. With such a level of magical power, it is impossible to broadcast over long distances, as the real Haishin does. Shruza claims to be aware of what is happening. Menacingly descending the steps to the trembling Aguila, the girl escalates, not content with the fact that the imposter posed as her betrothed. Grimacing in a terrible grimace, Strauss puts out his hand, with veins protruding forward, threatens the guy, says that he hopes that he is ready to accept punishment. Agil, frightened by the demoness, lost his balance, and fell to the ground with his ass, after wetting himself right in his pants. The trio came out of their hiding place in the bushes in order to search for the missing imposter, walking through the academy grounds. They look around. The girls sit down on the bench. Passing by a large tree, the girls decided to sit down to think about what had happened. Kanata rushes from side to side, not understanding where the guy has gone, but the girls do not share his curiosity. It does not matter to them, but according to Alfana, the saint cannot close her eyes to such an incident. Maria thinks that if she were a demon, she would also take the imposter to check the rumors. Alfana understands that there are loyal subscribers among the demons. To these conversations of the girls, the guy turns his attention, turns in their direction, asking what they are chatting about. The young man pays attention to a huge dark ball hanging in the sky. He looks with fright and incomprehension, while the girls do not pay much attention to him. Grabbing Maria and Alfana by the hands, who did not expect this, the rope jerked away from the suddenly appeared dark ball to protect the two heroines. A fetid smell began to spread around the heroes, which clearly did not give them pleasure. They began to complain about this stench, simultaneously covering their noses. Suddenly, a guy who had wet himself in his pants fell to the ground. Before that, the missing guy was walking along with an unknown man, ordering him to get up and reminding him that he had done things. Having settled down next to our three heroes near a tree with a bench around, the demon began to laugh loudly, talking about the shame of Aguila. A guy with blonde hair and two horns on one side sticking out of his head stretches out his hand to Maria, Alfina, and Kanata, saying along the way that what is happening looks quite awkward. Tensing up, the girls addressed by the demon, in order to protect Kanata, who was surprised that he had already been enrolled in the faction of heroes, took out their guns and stood in confident, ready-to-attack stance in order to deal with the unwanted guest. Raising his hands in the air, as if surrendering, the demon, addressing the trio, apologizes for his unexpected appearance. Clarifying the situation in front of the startled heroes, the demon said that this guy, meaning Aguila, posed as Mr. Haishin, which angered his boss, adding that the educational work had already been completed, so he came to return the intimidated imposter. Surprised by the reaction of people to the mention of the streamer, the demon asked if they also knew the gentleman. Maria confirmed the guesses of the guest, sheathing her sword, while Alfana stated that she did not feel hostility from him. Grinning, the demon noticed that they all seemed to be in the same boat, but not understanding his comment, Kanata asked what the man meant. The man decided to explain that many demons, like him, listen to Haishin, clarifying that the demon lord is so crazy about him and does not miss a single broadcast, being an active participant. After hearing all the information from the demon, Kanata thought about the seriousness of her words. Overwhelmed with emotions of love for Haishin, Maria and Alfana admire the fact that their master was able to charm even the demon lord, breaking the barrier between humans and demons. Thinking about what is happening, the man realizes that these girls in front of him are behaving exactly like the lord, shifting their focus to the rope. Having studied in more detail, the demon, looking at the young man standing in all his glory, smiles and opens his mouth in surprise. Kanata, who has questions, hears the man's words in his direction that his magical power is very impressive, and if he called himself Haishin he would believe it. But trying not to reveal his identity, the guy pretends that he does not believe the words of the demon. Hesitating, Kanata feels his heartbeat quicken with excitement and wonders if his face has remained emotionless. Eavesdropping on the guy's dialogue, Maria goes into reflections on the fact that Kanata's magic surprised even the demon. Remembering his strength when dealing with an aristocrat bully, the girl cannot understand who this guy really is. Intervening in the conversation, Alfana reminded everyone about herself, apologizing to the demon and saying that her friend had an even bigger pile of things to do today. The heretic, in turn, was justly punished, and no one else has any complaints against anyone. Grinning, the demon pokes his index finger at Alfana, noting that she is a pleasure to deal with. The girl liked this gesture. Left alone, Kanata and Alfana sat next to each other on the bench surrounding the tree. Remembering what happened, the guy sums up that the demon went back through his strange sphere, and Maria went somewhere on her own business. Exhaling from fatigue after difficult events, Kanata speaks about the strangeness of the old day. Alfana, sitting next to him, hears this and agrees with the guy's opinion, laughing and whispering that the guy must be very exhausted. Calling the guy by name, the girl moves closer, continuing to sit on the bench, to him who does not understand the actions of the interlocutor. Alfana, beaming with emotion, abruptly but gently takes Kanata's hand in hers, thinking from the bottom of her heart that the guy covered her. It was cool. The taken aback guy understands why the girl called him and imagines that if he could do as he wants, he would respond to gratitude in the style of an alpha. Supposedly, a man should protect a girl. Embarrassed by both his thoughts and Alfana's actions, Kanata turned away from the smiling interlocutor a little and realized that he was feeling awkward. Noticing the embarrassment of the guy who did not answer, Alfana tightens her grip on his hand and, as if beaming with happiness and smiling sweetly, adds that she really enjoyed it. Hearing someone muttering, Kanata is distracted from the awkward situation and remembers Aguila lying on the ground, wet himself. The hero looks towards the poor guy and says that they should not leave him here alone. Approaching Aguila, picking him up and carrying him on his back, Kanata again hears flattering words about how kind he is. Remembering the demon lord who scared him to the state of a vegetable, Agil again feels a sense of fear, which causes drops of sweat to appear on his face. A strong tremor rushes through the body of the frightened man. The guy asks for help from the surprised Kanata, who continued to carry him on his shoulder. Agil breaks off abruptly and quickly runs away, begging Mr. Haishin for help, leaving the shocked guy and girl alone. After this incident, Agil changed a lot and admitted his lies, publicly disclosing all the sins of his family, shouting that their clan would rise from the ashes to the glory of Haishin, questioning witnesses of what was happening. A few days later, Kanata, wandering through the city, thinks that if you believe the words of that demon, then the demon lord himself listens to him as Mr. Haishin, but is that why he offered a truce? A voice from nowhere pulls the guy out of his thoughts with some kind of request. The guy turns to the voice, sees the girl and clarifies whether he was asked a question, to which he receives a positive answer. A confused girl with long dark hair, wearing a straw hat and a long light open dress, turns to Kanata, asking to show her the city. Surprised and no less confused, the guy asks the girl again, believing that she is here for the first time. On the street of the city, near some counter, there is a girl who asks Kanata to show her the city, and the guy himself. They are happily eating a large ice cream cone. Walking around the city, the guy explained to the girl who was interested in what and where he was, attracting the attention of passers-by with the beauty of the girl. Inspired by the walk, a dark-haired girl walks down the street, slightly overtaking the rope, saying that she is interested. She is surprised by the views of the royal capital. A walking couple, who do not stop attracting the attention of passers-by, communicate. Kanata is still interested in whether the girl is here for the first time, to which the girl responds positively, hesitating and correcting herself after answering allegedly for the first time in the city of people, confusing the guy. A satisfied, smiling Kanata suggests that the girl was probably not allowed out of the house, but this does not surprise him, because his companion is too hot and is a delight to the eyes. Turning to the guy, the girl apologizes for the fact that she imposed on him, because now he allegedly has to mess with the hillbilly. Taken aback by the girl's apologies, Kanata jumped up to her and began to calm her down. For him, what was happening was normal because he was walking with a beautiful girl, and passers-by envied him. The companion thought confusedly about the guy's compliment that she was beautiful to him. Kanata, not wanting to be separated from the beauty, offers to show her the places with the most beautiful view of the city. The girl is happy with the offer and agrees to it. The couple is standing next to each other, clutching the fence and looking down. They have an incredibly beautiful view of the city playing with its lights from above. As if mesmerized, the girl continues to stand and admire the view. She speaks haltingly that she cannot believe what she tried to destroy, and, without finishing, corrects herself. She does not believe that she could have missed such a beautiful sight. The guy, not for the first time, hearing a hitch in the beauty's speech, turns in her direction and thinks that she is strange. Diving deeper into his thoughts, the guy realizes that he is more concerned about the aura of this girl. A dark aura radiates from the girl like a haze, which the guy notices and is startled. After noticing this, Kanata decides to ask the girl, who continued to admire the landscape, if she is a person, which the beauty is surprised at, grinning insidiously. Squeezing her hand on the fence, the girl expresses her indignation that some artifact received from her subordinate was supposed to disguise her as a person, meaning a straw hat. Not understanding what is happening, Kanata asks what the girl means. Bursting into strong laughter, crossing her arms over her stomach and bending in her back, the companion simultaneously says that she did not think that the guy would declassify her so soon, and noticed that she was not a person, assuming that it might even be better. Having guessed everything, Kanata exclaims and wonders if this girl is telling the truth and receives a positive response from her, followed by an assessment of good intuition. Looking at the guy, the declassified girl decides that since there are no people around and no tracking magic either, then she can no longer hide. Grinning, the girl removes the ring from her finger, deciding to reveal her true identity as a reward for Kanata's attentiveness. The guy is stunned by a sharp flash of light and a stream of wind coming from the reincarnating girl, demolishing everything in its path. Feeling a powerful pressure on himself, the guy studies the barely visible silhouette of a former human girlfriend. Now she looks like his recent familiar demon. The flashes of light coming from the girl, the wind, and the strong pressure stopped, simultaneously removing the hat from her head. The girl decides to introduce herself again. A demoness appeared in front of Kanata in an immodest, highly revealing costume. She introduced herself as Shrauza, an ordinary modest demon. Swallowing a viscous saliva, the guy with the face unchanged in emotion introduced himself to the demoness as Kanata. Shrauza offered to address each other as you, to which she received consent from the guy. Suddenly, the girl snapped her fingers and moved them together with the guy into a black, empty space. The heroes only saw each other. Shrauza, reaching out to the rope, commented on her action, saying that they were now cut off from the outside world and now no one would be able to see them. Surprised, the guy stood up in a confident pose and, crossing his arms over his chest, said that he did not know about the existence of such magic. The main character thinks that magic never ceases to amaze, and he should have prepared better before going to school. Shrauza asks Kanata what he thinks about demons. She directs her gaze at him. The young man thinks about it. He folds his arms over his chest and looks up, remembering that he had already been asked about this before. The guy turns back to the demoness, asking if his opinion is really important to her, because Kanata does not think that demons can differ from each other in any way. This answer surprises the girl. The young man continues to say that demons and humans have been fighting each other since ancient times, but it would be much better if everyone started getting along together. The guy thinks that if one of the demon friends dies in the war, then they will grieve for him, just like people. Shrauza confirms the words of the main character, because indeed demons shed tears when a comrade dies. The girl thinks to herself that the guy is quite perceptive. The demoness asks Kanata to tell if she is right about the fact that the guy has an insanely huge source of mana, seeing through him as if. The hero remembers his recent acquaintance, the demon who brought Aguila, and realizes that Shrauza speaks exactly like him. The girl admits that they, demons, can see waves of mana, and the reserve that the boy has is much more than hers. She did not expect to meet a man like him in the city. These words affect Kanata, and without trying to show it, he wonders how much he is superior. Snapping his fingers once more, Shrauza takes them back to the human world. The girl says that it is difficult for her to assess how much mana reserve the guy has, because she simply does not see its limits. Noticing something, grinning, covering her mouth with her hand, the girl realized for herself some kind of thing that makes sense. Kanata did not understand what Shrauza was talking about, and also did not have time to notice when the girl changed her clothes. The demoness advised not to pay attention, because she sometimes talks to herself. Grabbing the guy by the hand, Shrauza asks if he agrees with her opinion that humans and demons should go hand in hand, just like they are, illuminated by the rays of the sun at the moment. Kanata agrees with the interlocutor, noting that such a path is not easy, but he is sure that they will definitely be able to do it. Shrauza, looking at the guy with a smile, says that their plan still sounds quite encouraging. Kanata, continuing to hold the demoness's hands, notices that her hands are a little cold, but, in general, they are no different from human ones. Casually, the guy shares with the girl that they have a boyfriend who calls himself a certain Haishin, and he holds the same opinion. Kanata continues to say that Haishin wants peace between humans and demons, and our hero hopes that he will have time to find this time of reconciliation. The interlocutor laughs at these words. The guy was surprised by the reaction of Shrauza, who continued to laugh and began to worry, wondering if he had said something strange. The demoness, laughing uncontrollably, apologized to Kanata for such a reaction because she turned out to be a fan of Haishin. Hanging on the fence, Shrauza remembers the streamer and says that Kanata is absolutely right, because Haishin said bad things, but probably thanks to his words she was able to change. Spreading his hands, the guy asks the girl if Haishin is famous among them. Shrauza confirms his words, saying that he is quite popular, although some hard-headed elders do not like him. The demoness adds that the demon lord has resolved the issue with those who disliked the lord. Kanata is glad to hear this, but he gets the feeling that besides being popular, Shrauza said something that the guy shouldn't have known. The young man, continuing the dialogue, is interested in the land of demons. He is interested in what this place looks like. Maybe it looks like the overseas countries of the human world. Delighted by Kanata's curiosity, the girl ran up to him with quick steps with an offer to visit them next time. Bumping into the guy, the excited demoness began to plan their journey into the world of demons. Not sharing the joy of the girl, the guy, trying to push her away, tries to calm the ardor of the interlocutor, saying that he will visit them if they both have free time. Soon they said goodbye, promising each other to meet again, and the strange weekend of the ropes began to come to an end. Shrauza disappeared as if into some kind of portal. No one in the human kingdom knew the true name of the demon lord, so there was no way Kanata could know who Shrauza really was. After conducting his routine stream, Kanata decided to end it earlier than usual, advising viewers to go to bed early sometimes too. After getting comfortable in bed, Kanata says that he was tired of being a city guide and wished good night to nowhere, because he knew that there was no one else in the room besides him. Soon the guy fell asleep, but, as mentioned earlier, Kanata's strange day off was coming to an end. In Haishin's room, a raven was hiding under the ceiling, which, laughing maliciously, watched the sleeping young man. At least about the end of the weekend, Kanata thought. A few days ago, Raven met with his new client, a man in a light-colored sweatshirt with a hood on, in an alley. Standing in a closed position with his arms crossed over his chest, the Raven asks the man in the sweatshirt about his purpose for killing. From under the hood, you can see the face of an aristocratic bully with a grin, who bothered Kana, and, thanks to the public humiliation and arrest of Princess Mary and Kanata, he was deported back to his homeland. The nobleman stuck in a piece of paper with a picture of Kanata, drawn from memory. Studying the information about the new target, the killer thinks that the guy is an ordinary commoner from the royal capital. He is not a noble and not an adventurer. This job will be easy for Raven. The customer, writhing with anger, angrily says that Katana will answer for making a fool of him in public. Raven looks at this picture, guessing that the client has been disgraced. Pulling his hood up even more, the mercenary accepts the job offer, adding that the client's enemy is not to be envied. Relieved by Raven's acceptance of the offer, the aristocrat happily exhales and shouts after the disappeared killer that he is counting on him. Grinning maliciously, the nobleman realizes that he will punish his abuser, and he will not escape his punishment. Admiring the views of the city from a high place, the killer is nostalgic about how much time has passed since the last time he was in the capital. With a sharp and unexpected leap, jumping over the fence in one fell swoop, the Raven descends from the observation deck. After landing and simultaneously removing his disguise, Raven became an ordinary girl, remaining unnoticed in strange behavior, decided to start by collecting information about his new goal. After an hour of light reconnaissance, information turned out that Kanata was buying bread in a woman's shop, rescued some guy's sister from scammers, and a student who saved a woman from a bully. To a mercenary, the guy she has to kill seems like a good person, which bothers her, because she can't give up this job and needs to finish it. The girl comforts herself with the fact that she is, after all, a raven, and, therefore, she has no other choice. There are voices on the street of a man who is trying to say that there is nothing criminal in the sale of prohibited substances, and a man who shuts up the first one. The talking people turn out to be a raven and a criminal from whom the girl tried to get some information, but without receiving it, she killed the man. Voices are heard around the corner. The killer sees that the speakers on the whole street turn out to be a guy and a girl who insistently asks the young man to walk, holding his hand. Raven watches the scene unfold and plunges into her thoughts. She thinks that life on the other side of the screen helps even murderers like her to stay. The girl, like many people, listens to Haishin. He means a lot to her. Raven is a girl about the same age as the gentleman. She learned about him from passers-by by pure chance. The mercenary imagines herself in the place of Haishin's lover because she hides her true self under the guise of a raven, just like the master. She thought of it as one of the many similarities that confirmed their special bond. Listening to his broadcasts, where the streamer raised interesting topics, such as discussing decent work, the girl herself did not expect that she would like it so much. Squealing with joy and affection for Haishin, Raven often ignored new orders only to wait for the end of the broadcast. She has completely fallen under the influence of the master. While conducting his broadcast, Haishin receives a letter with information about the earnings of some people on murders. The sender is interested in the opinion of a streamer who has heard something about it. This topic concerns a girl who is just working as a killer. Sitting on the roof of the building and listening to the broadcast, the girl realizes that Haishin's listeners are well informed about criminal earnings and thinks about getting rid of them. The girl's face expresses surprise when she hears the streamer's words about the fact that the killers are a little scary. Raven thinks about the fact that people are afraid and despise murderers. Even customers are careful, but they think that mercenaries are just very convenient henchmen for committing a crime. Although, the girl herself understands that she is acting badly. Reading the comments of one support who does not have an opinion, Haishin says that this activity is still a crime, and it is probably difficult to think about murderers in a positive way. Stunned by such words, the girl continued to listen to the words of the gentleman about the fact that despite everything, he still considers it an interesting job. Pleased with the approval of her work from Haishin, the girl drools and says that she not only likes the gentleman, she loves him. The girl is too trusting, especially to the words of the streamer. Returning from her thoughts, Raven realizes that she was dreaming too much. The killer stands outside his target's house and looks at the window where the light is on. She understands that the hero should not have left the window open. In one motion, jumping into the room through the open window, Raven sees a tired guy sitting at a table, stretching. The killer approaches his victim from behind, pulling out his sword and apologizing to Kanata. Waving his sword and saying goodbye to Kanata, allowing him to hate his killer in the next world, the Raven stops abruptly, almost killing the guy, after his words about the time that came to the beginning of the stream. Raven was taken aback and thought about the guy's words. The killer twirls the sword in his hands and reflects on the possible connection of the victim with Haishin. Suddenly, Kanata went to close the window so that no one could hear his stream, from which the Raven quickly jumps up to the ceiling to remain unnoticed, leaving his reflections. Watching the stream begin, the yandere killer, trusting his superior intuition to ordinary people, realizes that Kanata and Haishin are one person. Excited, and clearly not expecting such a meeting, Yandere huddles in a corner of the ceiling and thinks that all this is a dream, while against the background of the rope he warms up people on the stream, asking the usual questions. Suddenly, from a slight movement, hidden but incredibly joyful from what the girl hears live, the Raven mask falls off. The skills of a professional killer help to catch a falling mask with her teeth in time, because a girl cannot allow a gentleman to notice her, regardless of any circumstances, whether it's nosebleed or tears of joy. The streamer discusses with the audience the dishes that can be recommended to him. At this time, the malicious laughter of a nobleman is heard from an unknown house, who is content with rumors about the great cruelty of the Raven, thinks that the killer is making the peasant cry in pain now. But at that moment, Raven was enjoying the world's first open stream, with mental exclamations that the gentleman reading the comment from the nameless princess was the best. After completing the broadcast and stretching sweetly in bed, Kanata says that he is tired of being a guide and wishes goodnight to the void, thinking that no one is around. After waiting for the boy to fall asleep, Yandere quietly jumped down from the ceiling, remaining unnoticed, without disturbing Haishin's sleep. Raven remained in Kanata's room without rest or sleep, watching him closely and licking her lips while he, in turn, slept without hind legs. After spending enough time in the master's room, even a legendary assassin can get tired, so after dozing off, drool dripped from the girl's mouth, which fell right on Kanata's face. Disturbed by the sudden appearance of water on his face, Kanata began to wake up. Noticing the imminent awakening of Haishin, the Raven jumped back and hid on the ceiling again. The guy started complaining, thinking that the roof was leaking, and if so, it would be hard for him to fall asleep again. Kanata, getting up from under the warm blanket from the bed, decided that since he had woken up, he would go to the toilet. In the process of leaving the bed, the young man, frightened, notices a sudden night guest sitting laughing under the ceiling. Kanata's face twisted in sincere fright. Continuing to look at the girl, the guy screamed with all his might. Abruptly jumping out of bed and flying up to Yandere, the guy, pointing at her with his index finger, shouted at her with questions about who she was and what she had forgotten here. Jumping down from the ceiling despite being found and despite the failure of the mission, Raven was happy because Kanata saw her. The guy who asked the question received the answer from the girl with absolute steadfastness and confidence. The girl, trying to seem nice and please her idol, dropped her things and said that she was pleased to meet Mr. Haishin, and she was an ordinary, not at all suspicious girl. Still screaming in fright, Katana yells at the girl not to think that the guy will believe all her chatter. From that day on, Kanata's streams were no longer the same as before, but he still, of course, did not know about it. The girl falls on her knees in front of the guy and asks her to listen and believe because she is a fan of Kanata. The guy is a little taken aback and looks at the Raven, not knowing how to proceed. The main character stands in a nervous sweat, thinking that the girl already knows his true identity. She raises her head at a strange voice that asks who she is. With a joyful face, the Yandere subscriber, who broke into someone else's house, introduces herself by the name of the world, adding that sometimes she can be called a raven. Kanata thinks, putting his palm thoughtfully to his chin. He looks at the mask lying next to him, at the sword, and at the smiling sweet girl. Then the hero asks again if Mira is the legendary killer. The guy's words are confirmed. The young man asks Mira why the legendary assassin entered his room and watched him sleep. The girl immediately begins to justify herself, saying that she is a big fan of Haishin. The hero understands that it is useless to ask, he walks in a circle anyway. The main character realizes that he does not know how to behave in such a situation. Mira asks if the gentleman is worried, to which she receives consent. After clarifying if it's because of her, the girl wonders, hearing that it's really about her. Then the heroine says goodbye to her master and pulls the sword out of its scabbard. The young man worries even more and tries to stop her. Mira brings the tip of the sword to her delicate skin on her neck and informs her that she will immediately withdraw. The guy throws up his palm and asks to stop. The Yandere fan does not listen to Kanata. She looks focused and slashes her neck, leaving a hot crimson trail, the consequences of which flow down, drop by drop. The hero, screaming, presses a rag to someone else's neck and asks what is wrong with Mira at all, since she tried to end her life in this way. The girl replies that she has caused trouble for the gentleman. After removing the cloth, on which drops of crimson liquid have already gathered, Mira, with an intimidating expression on her face, says that she does not provide any value as a living being if the guy thinks of her as some kind of hindrance. Kanata thinks that he can no longer, because in front of him is someone who is really capable of committing suicide. She has gone far beyond Yandere or Menhera. The main character is ready to cry because of this. Choosing the right words, the young man says that the world is what it is, and he would not want anything to happen. The guy thinks how wonderful and good everything was, until a crazy fan turned up on his doorstep. As a result, the hero asks the girl just not to die and gives out one of the stupid reasons why you shouldn't do this. If you cut off your head, then the blood will be difficult to wash. The girl asks if she should do it somewhere else then. Out of anger, the main character squeezes a glass of water and splashes the water, not knowing how to convey his thought to the fan. He crouches down in front of her and calls her name. Interrupting the dialogue, Mira says that Kanata is now the only one who knows the Raven's true name. The young man asks again if he will be killed, since he knows the truth. The girl immediately grabs the sword and resolutely asks who it can be. She is ready to immediately get rid of the enemies, while the guy understands how neglected the case is. The main character asks the girl to somehow prove that she is a raven, and she thinks about it. An idea comes to her. Mira says how well she knows how to hide her presence and demonstrates her abilities. And indeed, before the young man has time to blink, the girl disappears into thin air and is not visible. Only the voice is heard. The guy looks around, says that he did not feel magic and does not understand where the world has gone. A voice nearby informs that he is nearby, in front of the master. Kanata reaches out and feels something rounded. After that, the girl reappears, saying that these are her Kirby forms. The main character, oops, and pulls away from Mira, feeling awkward. Kanata closes his eyes, apologizing for the embarrassment. Then Yandere claims that everything is fine. The fan smiles, says that the master's touch makes her happy. After these words, the young man feels even more embarrassed and awkward. Returning to the original topic of conversation, the guy asks why Mira is in his room right now. She begins to tell her original plan. The young man considers it unimaginable that some people are ready to kill for small things, but this world is already rotten. Raven replies that what she described earlier made her really happy. The hero asks again if the fan is going to kill him, and she is not satisfied with the question asked. With a shout, she replies that she will not do this in any case. Trying to justify herself, the girl asks not to worry the main character, because she is here more for protection, not for harm. She completes her story with words about who ordered the guy. The second day of the stalker's life passed as usual. The girl watched the main character study, thinking along the way that her goal was to kill the guy. She did not fulfill her mission, but eliminated the customer with a light and quick swing of the sword, after which she continued to watch and follow the young man, even when he was streaming his streams. After finishing his story, Kanata asks Yandere not to kill people anymore, because this is definitely unnecessary. The young man believes that the heroine is very reliable as a bodyguard, but leaving her around is too scary. At the moment of reflection, the main character's terminal screen lights up, which is what the girl standing next to him tells him. The guy takes advantage of the chance. He thinks that most likely those letters that he talked about earlier could have already arrived, so he checks his device. On the screen, the main character sees a frightening inscription. He is called a serial killer, and he does not understand what this is all about. The girl tries to look at the device screen, but sees nothing. Haishin continues to read the letter, the lines of which say that he will not be forgiven, his sins will not be let go, and no one expected his willingness to do anything for the sake of fame. To transmit a voice over a long distance, you need a huge amount of mana, and no matter how much the guy, according to the commentator, did not save, he would not be able to cope alone, and he needs the mana of a large number of people. The author of this letter believes that Haishin took many lives and caused suffering to others in order to achieve fame. The message ends with a threatening postscript: they're going to destroy him. The young man does not say a word, realizing that a terrible rumor has spread in just a few days. Meanwhile, Yandere notices the hero's belongings on the bed. While the guy continues to wander in his thoughts, reasoning that he uses his own mana for streams, Mira grabs things from the main character's bed and sniffs their smell, trying to capture it in memory. But still, the Raven gets distracted, asks his master what happened while he continues to think about his past life. Such rumors did not lead to anything good, and celebrities were often labeled strangely because of them. The hero is confused. He did not think that this could happen to him, and now he does not even know what to do. The girl gets closer and waits for an answer. What she had done earlier did not go unnoticed. Kanata points a finger at Yandere, asking what she was doing by his bed, but Raven replies that he does not understand at all what he is talking about. Several girls are sitting on the figure, and there is a sign next to it stating that this is a statue of their master. A sound is coming from the sign on the statue. Haishin is a name that has thundered all over the world, in this world called Ataraxia. One girl holds a body in her arms. Some of those who are fascinated by his values and beliefs turned into Yandere listeners. Nevertheless, the unique culture of streaming that he brought spread among the general population. The liberation of slaves. A guy stands in front of a girl on her knees. A truce with the demons. The old man shakes hands with the demon. The destruction of the bandits guild. A man is shouting something. Eliminating discrimination based on professional grounds, it costs several girls. The blonde guy is holding something in his hands. A force capable of changing countries with just a word will inevitably become an object of envy, and soon a man appeared who also wanted to become a streamer. A small country, not far from Rogias, the noble house of Senti. Someone is pushing someone down the stairs. A girl in torn clothes falls to the ground and screams in pain. Someone is shouting that there is not enough mana. The guy screams at people that they are worthless, every single one of them. People on their knees are asking for forgiveness, for mercy, because they can't do this anymore. The guy is sitting on an armchair and holding something like a phone in his hands and asking someone about what he bought them for, calling them names. Someone addresses Rikba as the owner. The guy turns around with displeasure and asks what else is needed. The old man standing in front of him says that he thinks that he himself understands that mana is as important as blood. He says that if he drains their mana to the limit, they will die, then he will need new slaves. The costs will only increase. Since their mana is depleted, it is better to give them some rest. The guy looks at the exhausted slaves lying on the floor and asks if this is all. The The servant replies that this was the last batch. He looks at them irritably and calls them scum because they bring him only pitiful crumbs. There is a joyful girl from the fact that she has done something. The princess of this damned kingdom has introduced new slavery laws. Now it's even harder than buying new shares. A man in armor locks the slaves behind bars and tells them to rest in their cells. Rigby says that demanding that they treat these scum well is just ridiculous. Suddenly, the guy remembers something and asks if they managed to capture an SS rank adventurer yesterday. An adventurer with almost no clothes is resting in healing water to regain strength after a journey. Rika points at it and asks if they should use it. The old man looks at the papers and says that the mana for the broadcast is only enough for 5 minutes. The guy looks at his phone in shock and sees that there are 5 minutes left. He asks how Haishin did it, how much mana he has. After that, he guesses something. The guy understands and informs that he is alone. It is impossible to gain enough strength to last all night. He calls him names and wonders how many lives Haishin took in order to broadcast, so false rumors about him were born. The guy points his finger at the old man and a bunch of people in armor, ordering them to listen to him, orders them to anonymously spread rumors about the bloody streamer. Everyone agrees. Rigby clenches his fist, and with a smile informs that now they have got to the truth, they will reveal his sins and drag him to hell. The guy asks to give him mana for a 5-minute broadcast, and in that case he will do it tomorrow at the end of his stream. Today, the guy is looking at his phone in surprise, trying to figure out what happened. The guy presses a button on his phone. The girl next to him gets angry and asks if he will leave everything as it is. The guy next to the computer thinks about it and says that he doesn't like it either, but he wants to wait and see what it will result in. The girl waves her fists and says that this is inexcusable. She does not want him to be slandered. The main character wonders why she's hanging around, as if that's the way it should be and when she'll be back home. The girl puts on glasses and informs that if the guy does not want to dirty his hands, then maybe she should do educational work with them. The main character orders no killing and asks where she got these glasses from. She imagines how she takes organs out of a person with a sword and offers to at least sell some of them for organs. The guy angrily says that no way. The main character remembers a distraught blonde girl and thinks that he once thought that all his fans were kind people, but this is not the case. The guy opens the door and leaves the room saying that he needs to cool down. He will go for a walk. The girl says that he will go with him. The main character agrees with this, but asks her to make sure that no one sees her. The girl says that it goes without saying who he takes her for. The guy doesn't answer anything. The girl clenches her fists. Tears appear in her eyes. She asks the guy if he takes her for a stalker. She claims that she is not a stalker. The moon illuminates the street. The main character stretches his arms and says that this is a very pleasant feeling. Suddenly, his phone starts ringing. He looks at it questioningly. The voice from the phone says that he is madly enjoying Haishin's antics. The main character and the girl next to him look at the phone in horror. Rikta reports that he is sure that some of them already know about this, but does anyone know about the atrocities of Haishin? A voice from the phone informs them that within 5 minutes, he will finally reveal the whole truth to them. Several people are shocked to hear what Rikta is saying on the broadcast. They wonder if he killed that many. A few more people also look at the phone in surprise and listen to everything. They say that maybe he's right. 3 girls are holding their phones in shock. Listening to Rigby's words, they wonder if it's serious. It can't be. A girl with pointed ears is sitting at the computer typing something. Someone is asking how dare he. The distraught girl tears a pillow in half, from which feathers fall out, after which she pierces the phone with a cross. Another angry girl shows her middle finger and screams, "He wouldn't do anything like that." She raises her hand up. The main character turns to Mira. The girl walks in front silently. She turns around questioningly, realizing that she could barely restrain herself. If Haishin hadn't been there, she probably would have destroyed everything within a 5-meter radius. Haishin informs her that he wants to ask her for a favor. Can she listen to him? The main character thinks that Rikba stepped right on the tiger's tail. One girl is standing with a ball. The second is walking with a flag with a microphone sign on it. This is Haishin's squad. Support mode. The clock shows 4 o'clock. Someone says what the topic of today's lecture will be. The main character is sitting on a bench and wondering what to do now. There are 2 guys saying goodbye in front of him. He looks at the bench opposite, where one girl in horror points at the phone and asks if it's true that he kills people. The second says that there can't be so much mana in one person. Haitian realizes that that guy's stream has raised a big wave. He remembers sitting at the computer. Someone asks if he can start streaming. They ask him to teach them how to do it. Many people asked how his stream works. The main character thinks that he is doing this because he can. At least, that was his only explanation. The guy sees in front of him a dark silhouette of a girl with wings, who stretches out her hand to him. He talks about the endless mana he received about reincarnation. He doubts that there is a person with the same abilities in this world. The main character remembers how he pulled his hand forward and tells that he can repeatedly use high-class magic without worrying about the reserve. Some kind of monster grabbed him with tentacles. A nasty feeling. He is invulnerable to enemies who stick out magical energy. He talks about how if he lets his guard down, he might accidentally surpass everyone else. However, he is the only one of his kind, so no one will believe him. It's better to keep this power a secret. Life is good as long as he streams slowly. The main character sits on the bed in the house and thinks that his opponent is still in the process of forming a conspiracy theory, hoping that it has not been inflated yet. Unexpectedly for the guy, the world at his side apologizes for making him wait. The guy is scared by the appearance of the girl. The girl looks at the guy questioningly and asks if everything is okay. The main character gives a positive answer and realizes that she really likes to sneak up. Mira gives him some paper and asks her to take it. She says she did everything possible in order to gather information. The girl with a smile admits that she had to use force, but if this is his order, then she will do anything. The guy takes the papers with a smile and thanks the girl, but asks her to stop hitting people. Suddenly, the girl lies on her side on the bed. The main character looks at her questioningly. Mira cries and thinks that a murderer like her has received gratitude from Mr. Haitian himself. She's losing consciousness. Haitian looks at her and wonders if she's tired enough to fall asleep right away, so she's done a good job. The guy looks at the paper she brought. The guy sees a map in front of him and realizes that this is in a small southwestern country, which means that some aristocrat from the backwoods is behind all this. Rikpa stands with a mad face in front of his men. The main character wonders if a group has formed that is jealous of Haitian. It looks like they have turned into a full-fledged organization. The guy understands that this is bad. The main character looks at the sleeping world and says that Raven lives up to her reputation. She has collected such detailed information. The girl opens her eye. The girl finally wakes up and rubs her eyes, telling him that if he wants, she can go and find out even more. Haitian asks if she's okay with it. Mira asks to rely on her and instantly disappears. The main character is surprised. He wonders how quickly she found out everything. The main character and Mira are standing on the street under the open sky. She asks again about the request. The guy gives a positive answer. Haitian shows her his phone and tells her that he wants her to find out more about this streamer, using her connections, whether this is possible. The main character informs that it is still easier for her to move around. The girl approaches the guy and asks him to provide it to her. Haitian begins to read the papers. According to rumors, Haitian wins the trust of former slaves, ostensibly supporting them, but in fact takes all their magical energy. The guy throws a stack of papers on the table and angrily calls this streamer names. He leaves the room realizing that there is a possibility that those who support him have simply been brainwashed. The main character walks down the street thinking that ending his existence as soon as possible will be the only way to stop his terrible crimes. Suddenly, Haitian hits the wall with his fist. He realizes that now, not only he, but also his listeners, this guy is not going to stop. Two girls are holding the third one, who is walking forward with an axe. They ask Kana to calm down, because they don't even know who it is. The main character understands that even in this situation, there are listeners who believe these rumors. He understands that there are already quite a few of them. There is an angry girl standing next to her with a hole in the wall. The two girls in front of her realize that she is destroying the castle again in anger, because these are new repair costs. The main character is walking down the street. Everything is clear to him. He is sick of this slander. The people behind him are discussing what they said about him. Haitian thinks he wouldn't say that it hurts him a lot, but the problem won't go away if you leave her alone. He understands that. The main character is sitting, thinking that an easy way to resolve this misunderstanding is needed, but his word alone is not enough. It finally dawns on Haitian that he can take his hands off during the live broadcast. Heichi understands that if he uses this, then an imitation of the school entrance exam can help him. The girl is standing near the ball. The guy realizes that the ball they touch during the exam is used to calculate the amount of mana they have. It's a mana measuring sphere, he needs one of them. The guy looks at his phone and sees this ball, realizing that if he activates the sphere during the stream, it will be proof that he is using his own power. The main character has heard that they are quite expensive. He does not think that teachers will lend an artifact to an ordinary student. Two girls notice a guy sitting on a bench. One girl leaves a crack on the wall with her hand. She thinks that she understands Kanata because he is also thinking about that false streamer. The second girl also leaves a mark on the wall and realizes that Kanata, like her, wants to cleanse the world of these sinners. Both girls approach Kanata and address him by name. The main character is surprised by their arrival. The main character gets up from the bench and looks at the girls, realizing that it is them, Princess Maria and Alfana. The girls stand silently in front of the guy. He looks at them questioningly. The girls realize that a little more and they will lose themselves if they are not careful. The main character wants to ask what happened, but one of the girls interrupts him and says that he may not finish because she understood. She laughs. The girl remembers all the moments with the main character and informs that he is a person who will come to the aid of anyone who needs it, a person they can trust. She holds out her hand to him and informs him that in that case, now, in difficult moments, they will lend him their strength. Why not share the burden with them? There are two large buildings. The girl admits that it just so happened that they were born with power and influence. However, they should use them to help those who need it, so she asks the guy to rely on them. The main character stands and reflects, eventually coming to the conclusion that these two can still be trusted. Haishin clenches his fist. He tells them that he wants to ask them for a favor, asks if they mind. Suddenly, the main character decides to confess to two girls that he is the Haishin. The girls look at the main character in shock after he confessed that he is actually Haishin. The main character realizes that he said it too suddenly, which is why they were speechless. No matter how close he is with these two, the confession was too unexpected. Haishin understands that it is not a fact that they believed him at all. One of the girls apologizes. One girl stands in surprise, and the other admits that she already knows about it. The main character is shocked and asks her if she is joking. He asks her how long she has known about this. The girl replies that since their first meeting, does he remember that he had a small wound on his arm. The girl reminds him that immediately after that he showed his hands right on the stream. Haishin now understands what the matter is. The second girl stands in front of them in horror and realizes that Mr. Haishin has been nearby all this time. Princess Maria stands unable to say a word, thinking that her intuition was right after all. The main character looks at the girl in disbelief. Suddenly, Maria raises her hands and confesses that she also knew. The main character asks how. Maria raises her finger and tells him that she knew by his accent. She remembered him, it was quite easy. The main character asks if it turns out that he gave himself away. He praises the girls for keeping this secret, calls them well done. The girls agree with the guy. All three of them look at each other in silence, after which one of the girls approaches the main character and takes his hands. The girl tells him that even knowing the truth, they are his fans. She calls him Haishin, but corrects him on the rope. The girl bends down and says that they would never set him up like that. The girl understands that otherwise they would not have the right to call themselves fans. The main character turns to Alfana. Maria approaches them and informs the main character that Alfana is right. They want to continue to hear his voice. Already both girls take the guy by the hand. Maria informs him that she is looking forward to the broadcasts in which he is never afraid to say what he thinks. Kanata looks at her in surprise. Maria suddenly begins to express dissatisfaction with the word princess. She suddenly shouts to the main character that he should address her by name as Alfana. She asks to drop the formalities. The girl starts shaking Kanata and says that besides, there is no need to call her by her title now. The main character reports that he has figured it out. Alfana begins to pull Maria away and asks her to stop. The main character sighs with relief. Alfina informs the main character that they are his allies. Maria adjusts her hair and says that it's not anyone, but a princess and a saint. She asks him to say what he wants, and they will do it. The main character thinks about their words. The girl holds the guy's hands again. He realizes that, knowing the truth about him, these two did not tell anyone anything, keeping his secret. The main character understands that it is obvious that they can be relied upon, but wonders what is wrong with them. Kanata realizes that their condition is somehow strangely different from usual. It's even a little scary, or it just seems to him. He looks at both girls, and wonders that they are also so close to him, and looks straight into his eyes. The main character turns back and wonders what will happen if someone sees or hears. Suddenly, Kanata asks them to wait, and asks about what is going on. The girl wonders if he was surprised because there are no people around. The main character asks how she understood. The girl admits that she cast a spell to isolate herself from others, even before they started talking, because judging by his appearance, he did not want anyone else to hear them. The main character thanks the girl, which makes the second one surprised. The guy suggests in this case to get down to business. He tells the girls that he wants to talk to them about the rumors around Haishin. The girls say it's a conspiracy. Maria says that she asked mom and dad to do something about these rumors. Thanks to a mysterious assistant, they have already found out their source, so the investigation is over. The main character thinks about this assistant, after which he remembers Mira, who said that she works fast. He thinks that this cannot be. There are a lot of documents on the table. The guy is told that he is accused of mass murder, but such cases are not recorded in their country, but what he does requires a lot of mana, which an ordinary person does not have. The girl reports that, starting with her parents, the leaders of all countries realized that he has more mana than all the creatures of this world. She says that he is using an unknown device to generate mana, thus maintaining the stream. The main character understands that she has hit the nail on the head. The girl says that she is not going to ask if this is true, because a fan like her can do the same. She snuggles up to his back and informs him that in other words, even if he does not rely on them, many subscribers have already begun to act to end this. His name now has weight, even ordinary people support him. She represents a bunch of people, as well as demons, and says that among these fans there are enough who will not allow harm to be done to him. The main character does not want his problems to be solved by someone else. The guy clenches his fist, saying that he would still prefer to prove his innocence on his own. The guy tells Alfana and Maria that he cannot cope without their help. They are the only ones he trusts. After these words of the main character, the girls are shocked, starting to fall back from shock. They both fall back to the ground. The main character waves his hand and thinks about what happened awkwardly. The guy starts talking about his plan. The girls get to their feet and are going to listen to the guy. He looks at them questioningly. He asks if they remember the ball they touched when they entered the academy. Both girls agree. It looks like it's a valuable item. It's locked deep in the school. Kanata, sitting on the bench, says that it is this ball that he needs to solve this problem. Both girls come close to the main character. Maria says that the princess will force them to give him permission, and Alfana says that the saint can get permission. The girls tell the guy that no matter how the situation develops, they will take responsibility. The guy tells them that they are too close. He is not iron. The guy thanks them for their enthusiasm, but asks them to step back. Haishin and the congregation joined forces to put an end to rumors. How much these events will change. Haishin's life will become known in the near future. The main character tells that school is over for today, so he needs to prepare a bunch of things for tomorrow. The time is 4 p.m. The guy says that he will cancel today's broadcast and will prepare for tomorrow. The girls listen to the guy with a smile. The main character imagines how he cancels the broadcast on the computer and thanks the girls for agreeing to help him. The girls understand that there will be no stream today. Kanata turns back and suggests that they start their plan at 6 o'clock in the evening, in the very place they were talking about. Maria tells the guy with a smile that they understood him, and Alfana agrees with her. Night falls, someone knocks on the door. Alfana opens the door, and a girl stands in front of her. This girl turns out to be Maria. She addresses Alfana by name. Alfana asks Maria what happened. She asks the girl if she wanted to talk about Mr. Kanata. Suddenly, the girl gives a positive answer and puts her hands on Alfana's shoulders. The girl shakes angrily and asks her if he really is Mr. Haishin. Alfina asks Maria if she really didn't know about it. Alfina asks Maria to stop shaking her and demands to calm down first. Maria admits that she can't calm down. Suddenly, the girl runs to the window. She asks how she can be calm. Alfina looks after her. Maria jumps out the window and breaks it. She screams that her idol is in the same class with her. Alfina screams at her to stop ruining her room. After a while, the window becomes whole again. They repaired it with magic. There is a table with various objects in the room. Alfina looks at Maria with displeasure, who asks not to misunderstand her, because it's not that she was sure of it, she noticed something too. The girl folds her fingers and confusedly says that his manner of speech reminded her of Haishin. Alfina asks the girl to stop muttering to herself, because from now on she can use these meetings to make Kanata fall in love with her. The girl thinks about her words. Maria thinks about it and says Kanata's name and Haishin's name. She asks what name she should call him. Alfina is surprised by such a quick change of mood. Maria asks to wait. She is already puzzling over what to call him. She asks if this means that they are almost married. Alfina tells her that she has come to some absurd conclusion again. Maria happily asks when to start planning the wedding ceremony. Now she will be very busy. In her thoughts, Alfina is angry and shouts that she will be Kanata's bride. But in real life she just laughs and tells Maria that she is joking again. The girl understands that Maria is going to go crazy with delight, so it's better to warn her right away, before she finally goes crazy and uses her princess power on him. Alfina holds up her finger and turns to Alfina, asking her if she can listen to what she has to say. The girl looks at her friend questioningly. Suddenly, Alfina grabs her friend Maria's nose and lips with her fingers and pulls her back, which makes Maria scream. Alfina glares at the girl from above and informs her that when he is at school he is Mr. Kanata, and not Mr. Haishin. She asks her not to forget about it. She says that if she does anything that gets him in trouble, she will not forgive her, even though they are friends. Maria holds on to a sore spot on her face and realizes what kind of face Alfina has, realizing that she has not seen him since. She had seen such a face when she replaced her alarm clock with a bomb when they were only 5 years old. She had a very similar expression. In Burns, little Alfina with a board in her hands asks if she wants to see the underworld. Alfina asks Maria to think carefully, because even after everything is over, they will be the only ones who know his identity. She smiles maliciously and informs him that, in other words, they were ahead of all the fans, and from now on they can provide him with direct support. Maria is surprised by her friend's words. Maria remembers all 4 girls who know the real identity of Haishin and says that their number is small. At least for now. A girl with horns is sitting at the computer and crying, wondering if there will be a stream today. Surprised, Maria admits to Alfina that she is right. Alfina is going to tell you something. She says that in this way they will try to support him from the shadows so that the rest of the world does not find out. Maria removes the bandage from her head. Alfina imagines that there is a statue of Haishin behind her and informs them that it is their duty as fans who know the truth. Maria adds that she is also a fan of Mr. Haishin. Maria wonders about their debt. These two were previously called yandere, however, it seems that this was a mistake. Now they are much more than just crazy groupies. There's someone's phone on the table. Alfina shakes Maria's hand and informs her that they are allies. She offers to support Kanata together. Maria agrees with her, because, after all, they are friends. Maria and Alfina, like a princess and a saint, these two who helped each other, will continue to work together, for the sake of one person. The girl continues to stand with her hands clasped. There is such a wonderful friendship between these two young girls. A tiger appears behind Alfina. She thinks that she will be the number 1 for Mr. Kanata, and a dragon appears behind Maria. She hopes that she will be Kanata's favorite. Alfina realizes that this is because she is the first to know Mr. Haishin's real identity. Maria thinks that she was the first to recognize his talent, before anyone else. The aura of a lion stands in front of the aura of a dragon. In fact, these two girls are still ordinary yandere. Alfina asks Maria if she is a fan like her. The girl adjusts her hair and says she thinks they are the same. Alfina holds the phone in her hands and informs them that today is the night before their revolution. Mr. Kanata is busy, so there will be no broadcast, so why don't they use the archives to raise morale tomorrow? She says that fortunately, there will be no classes tomorrow, but just to cheer yourself up is not very good. Maria praises Alfina for such a great idea. Maria, with a malicious smile, asks her friend about which broadcasts have still been preserved. Alfina, with the same smile, replies to Maria that these are questions and answers, in a cool manner. A voice from the phone on the table asks the girls if they both want to become his, and then laughs. The girl begins to rejoice greatly. One gets up in her arms. They shout to Mr. Haishin that they so belong to him. They no longer had to hide anything, they stopped holding back. Wild screams pierce the night silence, because their love for Haishin has no boundaries. At about the same time, both girls stand in front of the main character, who tells them that then, they will start their plan tomorrow evening, at the very place. The main character comes home and says that although he is meant to resolve the misunderstanding, he can't wait for tomorrow's special stream. Kanata closes the door and realizes that he, however, needs to prepare for everything first. The main character realizes that it's too late now. He looks around the corner and starts watching. The guy sees a man who won't let any of the students go outside at this hour. Kanata realizes that an ordinary student like him will not be able to convince the guard to let him through. The main character thinks and smiles, realizing who can help him at the moment. As soon as the guy says the name of the world, she immediately appears in front of him and asks if he called her. The girl takes the main character in her arms and starts jumping on roofs. The main character asks her how long she has been here. The girl replies that she has just arrived. They jump over several more buildings, after which a girl in a mask and hoodie asks Kanata about what he needed in the capital in the middle of the night. The main character tells her that he needs someone to help him. Mira remains standing on the roof and looking into the distance. Kana approaches the main character and offers to get right to the point, because she was waiting for him. Kanata replies to the girl that he is not here for that. The guy shows her a bag of money and informs her that he will pay any amount, but he urgently needs to sew clothes. He asks if she could introduce him to someone. At first, Kana thinks about it, and then tells the guy that she is going to draw a map now. She asks the main character not to worry. The girl leans towards the main character and quietly informs him that they will be silent. The guy thanks her. The main character is talking about something with a bald man. After which, Mira asks about where to go next. He replies that to the gun shop. So they continued to rush around the capital until the sun rose. There was only an hour left. Kanata looks up in shock and wonders if the meeting place is here. The main character looks at the huge castle and asks if they can really use this villa for streaming. The guy walks with a bag on his shoulder and realizes that this is to be expected. He is very glad that he has such assistance. It's time for him to get ready. The main character looks at himself in the mirror in beautiful new clothes and thinks that he needs to remember this tailor shop. The guy admires his new image and says that the tailors really did a great job. His phone is held by a stick. He says that everything is ready with the equipment. He just made the camera removable, so there is no need to modify anything. Kanata thinks about whether there are any problems left. He looks at himself in the mirror. Suddenly someone knocks on his room. He allows him to enter. He turns around and sees a girl in front of him. Alfana and Maria, beautifully dressed, stand in front of him. He needs to mentally prepare these two. Maria asks if this is definitely a good idea. Alfana informs that she is worried anyway, even though she knows that they will be a threesome. The main character complains to her that no one is forcing her to participate in this. The girl replies that they want to help. With them, people are more willing to believe that he is not a commoner. They are discussing something inside the villa. The main character asks again with a serious question about whether he will reveal himself. The girl confirms this. She says people might guess that he is a student living in the academy dormitory. They can't let that happen. The main character is scared of this. Maria says that she is right, because Alfana was able to identify him simply by his hands. The frightened Kanata says that they are right. The main character is thinking about what to do in this case. The girl asks not to worry about it, because he can use her secret villa. Even her parents do not know about it, so there is no problem. The guy asks Alfana about how it is possible to have a villa in secret from the rest. The girl informs that no one will notice, even if they look directly. Kanata asks how this is so. Alfana reminds the guy that her saint magic can drive people away. It makes them ignore the chosen object. A man sees a huge castle, but thinks that there is something there, but he does not care. That's how magic works. The main character understands that the girl has cast this magic on the entire villa. The girl laughs and replies that tomorrow she will change the barrier so that he can see it. Alfana says with a smile that she does not know how effective it will be. If she mixes her magic with his, he will be able to safely broadcast without worrying about someone trying to find out about their location. Suddenly, Maria hugs her friend and calls her cool. Alfana confirms her words. The main character informs that if he manages to master this magic by tomorrow, then he will be able to apply it himself. Both girls look at the guy in shock. The girl suddenly admits that she forgot to say something, namely that this magic is transmitted only by the saint. She reports that she cannot betray the church, even for the sake of Mr. Kanata. The main character understands this. The girls demand to take them with them. They must be close so that he is not exposed. Someone must open the villa to him. The main character agrees with the girls. The main character thinks with a smile that he will need to thank them later. After that, the guy turns and looks at the wall. The guy looks up and sees Mira, who climbed to the top of the wall and shows a gesture. The guy realizes that she was only pretending to leave. Mira thinks about them streaming for as long as they need to. If anything, she'll cover for them. The main character understands that this girl lives up to her nickname. People are reading something on their phones and thinking that it's time for them to take a work break, because the time has finally come. They are wondering what excuse Mr. Heishin came up with. At this time, Kana wishes him good luck. The girl with the horns smiles and clenches her fist, informing Mr. Heishin that she believes in him. Demons think about whether he poses a threat to them. Demons, because he is different from other people, you just need to listen to his stream. The time comes exactly 6 o'clock. Someone addresses the main character by name. The girls in front of the main character inform him that the time has come. Kanata agrees with them and offers to act according to the plan. Both girls agree with the guy. The main character picks something up, realizing that he is also worried, but this is the evolution of live broadcasts. The guy puts a helmet on his head and thinks that this is the first attempt in this world. You need to enjoy it. Alfana is holding her phone on a stick, and Maria is standing next to her smiling. It's already getting dark outside. Rikba says that no matter what excuse he comes up with, this will be his last stream. He asks just to keep showing his hands and nasty voice. He orders everyone to act as soon as possible. All people agree with him. The guy is watching the stream. When they see the body of the main character in their phones, everyone is surprised and cannot take their eyes off the screens. The main character looks into the camera and addresses all his listeners. He asks if they were waiting for him. The guy inside the mask smiles and realizes that in this way, even for a short time, the legendary Heishin revealed himself to the whole world. Everyone is holding phones in their hands, which Heishin shows on his hands. They all understand how he speaks and moves, thinking that this cannot be. The main character stands with his arms outstretched and greets everyone, asking them how they like his outfit. He apologizes for not showing his face. Everyone is staring at the screen in a stupor. Suddenly, they start screaming, because Mr. Heishin has finally appeared on the screen. Kana suddenly jumps for joy, listening to how Heishin reports that he wanted to prove that he is not guilty of some charges. The girl with horns raises her fists and puts her foot on the table. The guy says that's why he decided to make a special stream today. Rikba on the throne is watching a stream. Heishin reports that recently, in one country, they began to claim that he was committing mass murders in order to ensure broadcasting. He can't just ignore people who name other criminals based on assumptions. Rikba laughs and asks if he's trying to threaten him. Thinking about it, Heishin says that it is still quite unpleasant. He asks if the dumb haters have heard him. Rikba is surprised after that. Heishin admits that because of Hetera, he now has a normal sleep. He reports that it pisses him off. Turning away from Rikba, two of his men say that it's good for him. Suddenly Rikba looks at them angrily. They apologize to him. Heishin says that today he will show them all how his streams work, but before that he would like to introduce them to his assistant. He asks Alfana and Maria to give him a camera. Commentators are writing, asking them to hurry up. The truth will finally be revealed. Let him prove that he is innocent. The main character tells them that there is no need to hurry. The girl with the horns is angry that someone is helping him. Someone, but not her. The guy on the stream shows Alfana and Maria, telling them that these two came from far away in order to help him. Maria greets the audience and tells them that she is Maria Atherasia, the third princess of the kingdom of Logias. Alfana says that she is better known as a saint. She says she is sure that they are worried and confused, but they are also his fans. They asked Heishin to let them participate, after which he kindly agreed. Everyone is discussing Maria and Alfana in the comments. Kana holds the phone in her hands and understands what it means that these two also know about Kanata. They will be serious rivals. Someone asks the guy if, since they know the assistants personally, it doesn't mean that he also lives in Logias. Suddenly, the guy is scared of this. The main character waves his hand to Alfana with a mental request that she cast a spell. The girl snaps her finger and thinks that in the name of the saint they should obey her. They should focus on Mr. Heishin, only on his words and actions. Alfana says that everything is ready. Maria looks at her thoughtfully. The guy thanks her and realizes that now it remains to hide the comments in the archive. Everyone started saying it didn't matter where he lived. Rikba holds his head with the thought that his head is like a fog. He cannot focus on figuring out his identity. His people say that Heishin's words get stuck in my head. It's not that important to find him. Suddenly, Rikba turns around and angrily waves his fist at them, after which his men apologize. Haishin raises his finger and says that now they will move on to the most important thing. He turns to the saint. The girl puts the ball on the table and says that it is here. The guy on the stream points at him with his hand and says that he is sure that everyone knows him, but this is a ball showing the amount of mana. The main character turns to Maria, after which the girl says what she will do now. She holds her hand. The girl puts her hands to the ball and tells that the ranks depend on the color and intensity of the light. Now it glows golden, so the amount of her mana, SSS rank. Haishin thanks the girl for the explanation. He says that now that the audience knows everything, they should be wondering how much mana is in it. The main character reports that, to be honest, he has an infinite amount of it. In other words, he can provide the mana needed for broadcasting himself, without anyone's help. Rikba looks at the screen in shock, and thinks about how it is possible that he has infinite mana. The girl with the horns looks at me with a smile and says that she knew it. The rest of the people look at him in surprise, wondering if this is serious. He says he will prove it right now. The girl is dissatisfied with the fact that this method is too simplified. It's still dark outside. The night before. The main character tells Mira that he will put mana into the ball, thereby proving that he has an infinite amount of it. Mira asks that if they decide that this is some kind of trick, the guy says that this is the right idea. He says that the presence of two girls will help him here, at least that's what they say. Their presence is enough to convince anyone. The girls ask you to rely on them. The world on the ceiling is looking at the main character, who asks to look at it carefully. He puts his hand on the ball and says that nothing is happening. Suddenly, the main character puts both hands to the ball, after which rays of light begin to emanate from it. Maria is surprised that it only flashed gold, and immediately returned to the eerie black light. Alfana is surprised that, after shining black a little, the ball turns gold again. Myra thinks about the impression that his endless mana is trying to break out of their ball. Commentators are also surprised by what they saw. The main character hopes that the ball does not break. He continues to hold his hands near the ball, after which it begins to vibrate. Suddenly, the ball flies up. The main character wonders why it took off. The girls are surprised that he shines like a rainbow. They see this for the first time. Suddenly, the ball goes to the window, breaking it. It flies out into the street. The main character, screaming, demands him to go back. He asks where he flew to. All three of them run after the ball. He asks the girls if they could help him. The girls agree with his request. The main character is in a hurry to catch up with the ball, which is why a stick with a phone falls by. The phone is lying on the floor. No one notices, after which all three of them look out the window in shock. The main character wonders why the whole world. You can see them all in the phone camera. All the people and demons are looking at the phones in shock. They are thinking about whether it was an accident, what happened at all. Haishin just walked up to the window. The main character asks all the guys to look outside. It's kind of crazy. Two girls are looking out the window. People standing on the street raise their heads to the top, after which they are surprised. They understand why Mr. Haishin was so surprised. They think what it is. Kana says that it is frightening and fleeting. The demon girl teleports outside, which makes one guy surprised. She says it's beautiful. Mira wonders what it is. Everyone looks at the sky in shock, in which a ball of mana flaunts, illuminating the whole world around them. Everyone is watching this. The main character says with a smile that it looks like a glow. Very beautiful. Maria looks at him in disbelief. She looks up again and asks if the sky they see is called the Shining. Suddenly, the radiance in the sky disappears. The ball flies rapidly to the bottom. It falls into the hands of Alfana, who looks at it thoughtfully. The girl tells that all the overflowing mana came out of the sphere and created this miracle. Alfana uttered the words that were on everyone's mind. However, this was not limited to one country, spreading to all the others. This radiance proved the boundlessness of Haishin. However, he forgot one important point. Everyone thinks that this is divine grace. They wonder if Haixing is a divine messenger. In the world of Autorasia, it's a phenomenon that doesn't exist. In short, he's screwed up. Rikby realizes that the sky has become very strange. They will not be able to defeat him. Rikba goes crazy saying that this is a blatant lie. He took mana from his slaves. He knows this. His people report that they will not fight with God. The demon girl hugs Kana, standing on the street and holding her hands up, shouting that it was all worth it. The fans decided that the night sky was specially created by him. Haishin looks at the phone in shock and wonders if they're overreacting. The girls say that they will be subscribers of Mr. Haishin for the rest of their lives. The next day, people wonder if there will be a broadcast today. People on the street are happy. Grandma asks if they will hear him today. The girl asks her if she likes him. People can't wait for it to air. The king thinks that they have witnessed a legend. He is glad that he lived so long. This radiance was like a divine miracle. Someone asks if they are also weary, after which someone replies that they are. The creatures discuss that his endless mana is very interesting. They hope that he will come to their country at least once. The main character sits with his eyes closed and thinks that it is a great honor to become so popular, but there is one caveat. People near him say that Haishin lit up the heavens. He wonders if they can't at least let him take a nap during recess. Haishin has to travel every day, so he doesn't get enough sleep. Its cycle consists of a student dormitory, the capital, and Maria's mansion. The main character, with his eyes wide open, listens to the fact that the divine miracle of Haishin was very amazing. One girl points at the phone and asks the guy if this is what he called the radiance. The guy gives a positive answer. The main character looks at them in shock and wonders why they attribute this to him. The main character realizes that in his past life, they existed before their era. Mira in the tree says she's tired of moving. What other divine miracle are they talking about? Kanata looks at Maria and Alfana, realizing that these two are also tired, but morally. A bunch of people gather around Alfana and ask her who Mr. Haishin is, what she talked to her about. They say they want to hear the details. A crowd also gathered around Maria, asking her to tell about what was going on behind the scenes. The girl asks to ask later, because she needs to go on official business. The main character understands that he owes the girls a lot. He needs to figure out how to thank them. The teacher claps his hands to announce that classes are starting. On the way home, the main character thinks that he will come home and get some sleep, after which he yawns, then hears someone say who someone thinks they are. He looks at two guys and two girls who are arguing with each other. The guys say that Haishin is an ordinary person, and the girls say that they are just jealous. The main character understands that such feelings and thoughts were the reason why the pampered nobles started all this. Maria said that some time after the stream, the royal knights found Rikpa's house and immediately, on the spot, forced him to confess his misdeeds before arrest. Either the consequences broke him, or he still confessed his sins, but before he was imprisoned, he distributed his fortune to slaves. Rikpa says, bowing down, that he offers this as his humble apology to all of them, and these treasures will not be needed by him in prison. Perhaps something happened before that, but the details are unknown. The demon girl holds the guy by the head, telling him that he apologized. As she said, she calls him well done. It was an hour before the knights arrived. His security was poor, unlike Haishin's. The demon tells the guy that her subordinates are talented, so it was easy to find a bug like him. One of the disputants asks the other what's wrong with her hair. It's better to get a haircut. The guy passes by and thinks that in order for this to not happen again, he should tell his listeners to be more careful in their judgments, not to react too sharply. He understands that, after all, he is to blame for what happened. He needs to be more careful in his actions. There's a girl standing in front of him. Alfana wishes the main character a good day. She says that he seems to be very tired. The main character looks at her and says that she seems to be too. He says that since they are alone, he believes that she is using her magic. The girl tells the guy that he sighed so heavily. She asks if he was really thinking about something. The guy wants to say something. A girl in tears approaches the main character, holding him by the shoulder and asking if he is really going to close the broadcast. The main character waves his head and denies the words. He realizes that the girl is standing too close again. He happily announces that he has received a lot of unnecessary attention, but will continue broadcasting as usual. He will make sure that he and his listeners like the streams, hiding his identity. Alfana laughs and says it's a relief, because she and Maria have already started to worry. The main character leaves and tells her that they will see each other. He thanks her for her support. He is a little uncomfortable with her sense of distance. The main character thinks that these two are too good to be friends with a commoner. The girl says that from now on she will support him even more. The main character enters his room and first of all says that he has returned, after which he looks thoughtfully at the bed and realizes that there are no worlds. Haishin wonders where she is. Suddenly she appears under his feet and asks how she can help. The main character jumps onto his bed out of fright. His heart is pounding hard, and Mira looks at him questioningly. The guy demands that she already go home. He asks the girl if she is now his eternal stalker. The girl says that she just wanted to protect him. The guy apologizes, asking how her job is. The girl reports that she forgot to say something. Raven is now retiring. This is the beginning of her new life. The main character understands that the girl got a new uniform from somewhere. Mira informs the main character that she is sure that her dad is proudly watching her from heaven. The guy asks her if she is unemployed now. He asks her to stop leading the conversation away. Suddenly, the main character is surprised by something. He imagines that his commentators write that the disappearance of the raven is the merit of Haishin. He thinks that if something like this happens, it will be unpleasant. The guy grabs the girl and leads her, demanding to return home, asking her to just become a bodyguard or something like that. The girl denies it. A car stops near the beautiful gate, near which its drivers are standing, and Maria goes from the car to the gate. She walks wearily home, thinking that she has finally returned from work. She wants to see Kanata. The girl comes in and is surprised that the main character is here. Suddenly, she starts running towards him, shouting his name. She looks in shock at how the main character pushes Mira and asks who she is. The guy calls her a crazy bum, and Mira informs him that this is slander, and from today she will be Mr. Kanata's bodyguard. The girl is shocked and asks again about the bodyguard. The main character says that this is a lie, and she knows it. Alfina watches all this and thinks that if Haishin likes little guards, then she would be the best choice. A girl stands in front of the gate and expresses dissatisfaction with the fact that it is very noisy. She asks if Kanata is helping someone again. She giggles and wonders if Kanata will be surprised to find out that she took the day off and came to visit him. The girl behind her thinks that, apparently, the saint and the priestess are students of this school. She says it's time to pay a little visit. Both girls meet eyes. One asks the other if they know each other. From this moment on, the main character will be in the spotlight again. Alfina tells Mira that she and Mari have already become the main character's bodyguards. Mira asks with displeasure what she is talking about. However, despite all this, Haishin continues to move forward. The main character thinks that he is finally ready to start making vlogs. Now his possibilities are endless. The guy holds his head, realizing that he can become even cooler. He's trying to get away from reality. Mira and her friends are arguing behind her. The main character stands, turning away from them, plugging his ears. For him, reincarnation is not an empty word. The one who guides Kanata blesses her future. This girl is happily watching him and smiling from heaven. There is a halo above her head and her wings are behind her back. The girl sits down on a chair, watching the guy through the clouds. She coughs and says that it's enough. She says with a smile that she has been watching him all this time. It seems that he is having quite a lot of fun. The goddess's lines begin here. The girl did not think that he would use the mana she gave him like that. He is really an interesting guy. She is looking forward to today's stream. Kanata walks past all the girls who are looking at him, thinking that he is very tired. He needs to go home and get ready. Suddenly, all the girls joyfully begin to address the main character by name at the same time. After that, all the girls jump on the unsuspecting, calm protagonist. There is a large cross on the building. The main character points at himself with his finger and asks about support for him. Alfana confirms his words and asks the guy what he thinks about it, while Maria says that they wanted to know his opinion. The main character thinks about it and reports that there are some kind of sponsors or paid subscribers in his home world. Alfana recalls the mana ball and reports that a week has passed since those events, but the enthusiasm of the audience still does not subside. Even the artists working for the royal family are brawling and fighting with each other for the right to be the first to paint Haishin. Maria adds that a painting is certainly good, but it's better to have an object. She thinks people will want to touch it to get closer. They will definitely buy such a thing. She asks what Kanata will say. The main character asks if she means some kind of souvenir, of course, but it seems to him that they are in too much of a hurry. The girls look at him with strange expressions on their faces. He understands that even though we are talking about an ordinary souvenir, but for some reason it seems suspicious to him. The main character asks the girls about how he can take up their time, because they have their own responsibilities. Maria says that they will not make this public, it will not interfere with their work. Alfana asks Mr. Kanata to believe them. The main character thinks that I was often mistreated at the academy, so such care is unusual for him. The online world is so very different. He thinks about whether he should marry them, but then thinks it's a joke. At that moment, Kanata's life was hanging by a thread, because it would be bad if he said it out loud. Most likely, their passion would have reached a climax, and perhaps he would have experienced something that is difficult to imagine. The girls rush at him, they can't hold back. Kanata says that you need to think about what kind of merch to make first of all. The girls agree with him. Suddenly, everyone looks at the statues of the girl with wings holding her hand up. They are surprised. Alphana says that this appeared on the statue of the goddess this morning. The statue now has a t-shirt with a picture of Haishin in a mask. The main character asks about whose handiwork it was, who dressed her like that. Alphana says that the culprit has not yet been found. Maria points at the t-shirt and says that she wants the same one, but then says that it's disgusting. Alphana says that if there is an image of Haishin on the clothes, then there is no sacrilege in this, so she believes. The main character asks if the church is still sane. Several girls are standing behind a tree and watching them. They ask if this guy is her classmate. There is also Princess Maria. Maybe this is a new monk. Everyone looks at Maria, who says that perhaps the goddess herself gave these clothes. In other words, it was a divine message, asks if they think so. Alphana starts to feel dizzy. The guy replies that it can't be. Maria says, it's just a joke. In heaven, the goddess admires the made t-shirts and says that it turned out well. The girl next to her asks if she made them again. Why so many? The girls say that, although it's still noon, we need to finish today. The main character agrees. Maria says that she and Alphana have a little business. The main character says that it is clear, asks if it is politics. They have a hard time. Without waiting for an answer, he turns around and leaves, saying goodbye to the girls. The girl says that's not the point. Alphana smiles maliciously, saying that he will soon find out. The guy looks around realizing that he rarely comes here, so everything seems so new. The street looks busy. He wonders what kind of store it is. Suddenly, Mira appears next to him, eating sweets. She tells him that this is a grocery store that opened just yesterday. Does he want to go? The main character gets scared, thinking that she appeared out of nowhere again. Mira looks at the guy in disbelief. He asks the world to listen to him, asking the girl how long she will stay here. The girl opens her mouth wide. He remembers that she was lying in bed with him, taking a sauna. He asks the girl why she doesn't move to another place as soon as possible. The girl starts crying and holds onto the guy's leg, saying that this cannot be. She asks the main character why she treats him like this. What is her mistake? The main character complains that he is glad that he has such a fan. People standing next to them look at them and wonder if this is a quarrel between a brother and sister. The guy puts his hands on her shoulders and tells her that she is hiding her identity in secret. He really appreciates it, and she helped him a lot during the recent incident. He picks her up in his arms and asks her if the stalking has already been enough. The main character throws a girl into a nearby box. The girl gets ears and a tail. She says she will find a home in the capital. The option of returning to their homeland is not even considered. Mira suddenly starts crying and asks to pick her up. The main character thinks that he needs to stay strong for her sake, because his mother told him not to pick up dogs on the street. The guy starts to run away. He needs to switch his thoughts. He thinks about what's next for him. Mira looks after him. The girl starts crying again, saying that she heard his catchphrase. She remembers how he said the phrase, "What's next for us?" Kanata looks at the building and thinks what it is. Two guys notice that some kind of liquid is flowing in the box. The main character understands what kind of building this is. This is Benetti's house. He wonders if Kana works there. Mira looks around and asks that, although it's still day outside, so many people are already heading there. The girl approaches and informs that most of them are adventurers who have returned from the dungeon, or travelers who have finished their shift. Suddenly, the main character is surprised that this girl is Kana. She tells Kanata with a smile that they haven't seen each other for a long time. Kana looks at Mira thoughtfully and realizes that she saw her at the academy 6 days ago. The main character stands awkwardly between two girls. After that, he is surprised that they shake hands and get to know each other. Mira says she understands. Kana agrees. The main character thinks about what they are all about. The three of them are sitting at the table. Kanata thinks that the building looks even better inside. In a previous life, as a student, he would not have been allowed to enter here. Mira asks about how much money has been invested in this place. A cook comes into the room with food. Kana rejoices at the coincidence. She was just about to have lunch. She asks them to eat too. Mira and Kanata look at the food with forks and knives in their hands in surprise, wondering if this is true. The main character wishes a pleasant appetite and thinks about whether the girl allows herself such a luxurious meal. It's incredible. It's not affordable for a poor student. Kana thinks he's cute. There are several empty plates on the table. The main character asks Kana about who she usually dines with. The girl replies that she is usually with her friends. She suddenly asks the main character if he is familiar with Princess Mary and Saint Alphonse. The main character gives a positive answer in perplexity. The girl smiles maliciously and informs them that she recently had lunch with them. The main character looks at her in surprise. Mira just continues to eat. It's cloudy outside. The main character asks Kana about when they managed to get acquainted. The girl replies that about 6 days ago. She remembers how 2 knights stand with the girls and say that they like this place. The second one offers to have fun. Kana says that after the incident with the nobleman, some knights began to go to them. Thanks to this, they established relations with the royal family. The girl remembers how Maria met her, surprised, and asked her if she was pregnant. Since they have the same famous favorite, they decided to have dinner together. Kana asked the girl if she also knew about his real identity. On the same day, they discussed it with great enthusiasm. The main character looks at Kana in surprise and drinks something. Kana reports that they discussed the creation of the Association of Haishin Supporters. They were able to unite this idea. The main character spits out the whole drink in surprise. Mira looks at him. Kana puts her hand on her cheek and informs them that they are currently engaged in secret planning, and so far, she is the 3rd participant. In other words, she is his number 3. The main character coughs, which makes Kana wonder if he's okay. The guy gives a positive answer. They say that the water just got into the wrong throat. Kanata remembers Maria and Alfana realizing that they said they wanted to create souvenirs, but this is the first time she hears that they have plans to create a fan club. Suddenly, the guy starts waving his arms and asks the girl if this means that she is also listening to Haishin. The girl gives the main character a positive answer and stretches out her hand to him, admitting that she was saved by his ethers, so she appreciates Mr. Haishin and respects him more than anything in the world. The guy looks away and says that everything is clear to him. Mira thinks about the fact that she was asleep that day, so she did not have time to enter the church. She remembers Kanata seeing her sleeping. It became clear to her what they were doing there. Mira continues to chew her food and thinks about the Supporters Association and wonders how she could have missed it. The girl apologizes and says that she will go to the toilet for a minute. The main character agrees, after which Kana stands up and addresses the guy by name. The girl hugs the guy and says that since he has come all this way, he needs to do something more interesting. The guy runs back, saying that somehow too fast. The girl asks if she just needs to wait. Kanata asks if she is joking. The girl giggles and agrees. It's getting dark outside. Kana says that even though they stopped by for a short time, she was very happy. She asks them to look in again. They both agree and thank her for the food. The guy understands that he doesn't need to think much, but first he should talk to Alfana and Maria. He looks away and realizes that there are no worlds. He thinks that the girl has finally gone to look for a new home. The main character is happy about it. A guy walks down the street and thinks that he wasn't planning to stream today. He's thinking about what he should do. Alfana stands inside the church and stretches out her hand, wishing the ladies a good evening. She says that she is the founder of the Association of Supporters of Mr. Haishin. She tells the 2 girls that they are creating an environment in which Mr. Haishin can safely broadcast. This is the purpose of their organization. Maria asks if it sounds a bit formal. Kana reports that she thinks this manner of speech is perfect. The girl laughs and thinks that at first, those who are familiar with the situation will join them, but later they will remove the restriction on participation. Suddenly she notices something black upstairs and conjures some liquid with her fingers. She thinks that these are uninvited guests, gives the liquid a sharp shape and throws it at them. The girl understands that it seems that they are not so strong, but they were still able to overcome her barrier, which means that these are not ordinary people. 2 silhouettes appear from the black portal. 2 girls repel Alfana's projectile. One of them asks if this is an entrance test, if they want to check if she has enough strength to defend him. All 3 girls look at them in shock. A demon and Mira girl appears, who apologizes, saying that she would also like to join. She is a former contract killer. The demon informs that she also wants to join them. Mira looks at the demon girl and wonders if she came here alone. The demon looks at the girl thoughtfully. Maria points her finger at the girls and informs them that, at that time, these 2 were also near the academy. Kana tells Alfana that these girls seem to be on their side. Alfana agrees. She folds her fingers and offers them cooperation for the sake of their common idol. All the girls simultaneously put their fingers in the same one as Alfana, saying that this is Mr. Haishin's sign. The goddess is watching from above and laughing. She reports that the further away, the more interesting it is. She wonders what it means if this is the second arch. The goddess informs that Mr. Haishin should become more and more famous. That's the whole plot. The girl next to her looks at her in shock and thinks that the human world has really influenced her clothes and sense of humor so much. The main character does not even suspect that there are even more members of the fan club. The guy is relaxing in the sauna and thinks that this is bliss. He is interested in what the others are doing now. Kana asks if he likes such beautiful girls as Princess Mary and Saint Alphana. The guy reads the comments. Mira writes that it is better to be strong than beautiful, advises choosing a girl who can protect him. The demon writes that she is also strong, taking time for her beauty. The guy is surprised how quickly he answered. The main character, sitting at the computer, asks himself if he likes this type of girl. Probably, yes, next to a beauty, of course. Any guy will be happy. Kanata sees the guy's comments that they don't have a girlfriend either. The main character lets out tears of happiness because he doesn't have a girlfriend either. People like them need to stick together. From two phones on the stone, he hears the words that single guys are his best friends. One girl asks the other if she has heard it. The other gives a positive answer. The girl folds her palms, starting to scream. They scream that he said he likes them. The main character sees that the girls say that Alphana and Maria have a fever, so they did not come, and one of them wanted to work out with them in the fresh air. The guy understands that it will get a little boring now, but he is not in a position to visit them. By the way, it's strange. An ordinary cold can be cured with magic. The man informs that today they will practice one-on-one fights. The guys ask if he is serious. Kanata looks at the clothes. The man says that they have given them special clothes that protect them from magical damage. When they come under a deadly attack, a protective device will work. The badge on the chest will be destroyed. If it is destroyed, the clothes will take all the damage on themselves. Their body will not be harmed. Kanata understands that the winner will be the one who successfully destroys the opponent's badge. The man asks who wants to try first. One guy grabs the other by the head and tells him that they just wanted to be the first. Haishin watches them, realizing that this clown is aroused again. He asks the guy if he will refuse him. The evil guy attacks with a magical attack of the second one, who screams and looks at him in fright. The badge on the guy's chest breaks. He falls to the ground. The teacher says that's enough. The guy looks down in frustration. He goes to the crowd of people. The second guy is happy and says that the opponent is too weak. Kanata looks at the defeated guy and realizes that this is what happens when they force a guy to fight who is not mentally ready for it. The guy points his finger at the rope and says it's his turn now. He waves his finger and orders the commoner to come here. The main character sighs and agrees. He took advantage of the fact that Alphana was not in class. People are shouting that he killed him and humiliated a commoner. The teacher asks you to stop because it's just a workout. The man looks at the guys and asks them not to pay attention to the students. He demands to start. The guy with the crazy smile starts to conjure. The guy screams that it's a flame. He directs a stream of fire at the main character, who just stands with his hands folded behind his head. The attack disappears. Kanata stands silently. The guy thinks about why it disappeared. He screams that he has just used a deadly attack. The teacher thinks that this was definitely not a protective effect of clothing. The teacher thinks that the main character used a layer of magical energy, but refuses this thought. Rather, he created a wall. He knew that this guy was a real talent. The main character is thinking about his new defense, which is based on knowledge from a previous life, although he used it for the first time, so he was a little worried, but not much. The guy remembers the pages from the manga, and thinks that who would have thought that the memories of the manga he read would be useful in another world. He thanks Kadokawa for churning out fantasy. The main character tells the guy opposite that now it's his turn. He asks him if he's ready. A guy with a smile conjures a flame. The guy is surprised. The next moment, the flame is near his face, from which he flies away. The badge is destroyed. The guy turns with a smile. The guy is lying without clothes. He thinks about why he is the only one whose clothes burned. The teacher praises the guy for having perfect force control. It was great. No wonder he is considered the most promising. Kanata thanks him. The teacher says that the domination of the aristocrats has been going on for a long time, although it is annoying, but the words of the teacher cannot change the way of thinking, but he will not allow them to go beyond. People say that an ordinary hillbilly is just lucky. Kanata asks the teacher not to worry. The guy says that not all students are hostile. He has friends at this school. There may be only two of them, but they are a princess and a saint. The students say goodbye to each other. In class, the guy thinks that he might have dinner a little earlier today. Someone rudely addresses Kanata. In front of him is the guy he defeated in a duel. The main character understands who it is, and says that fortunately he has a changeable uniform. The guy offers Kanata a chat. The main character pretends to be scared. The guy reaches out to him, someone asks him to stop. One of his friends asks, what if the saint found out about it? The girl says that's right, he has already disgraced himself today. The guy punches his friend and tells him to shut up. The guy justifies himself by saying that he was a little out of shape today. He asks why on earth he needs to prove something to them. The girls call him a coward. The main character rejoices and mentally thanks them for trying to protect him. Kanata thinks that let them continue to argue, and in the meantime he will go home. The guy notices this and swings his fist, asking where he's going. The guy is about to punch the main character in the face, but he freezes. The main character looks at him in disbelief. He touches his fist with his finger. The main character looks around in shock, wondering what is going on. Everyone in the class is standing. He's asking why he's the only one here who can move. Kanata looks out the window and sees the immobilized bird. He thinks that the whole world has stopped except for him. The guy steps back and collides back to back with the goddess, who calls him an impudent man. The goddess turns and tells Kanata that he is an inferior being. How dare he touch her wings? She raises her finger and says with a smile that an ordinary mortal is not bowed like that. On her wings, you can see the faces of all the fans of Haishin. The main character turns back with the thought that this voice seems familiar to him. Is it a goddess? He asks what she is doing here. The main character notices that the goddess is wearing a t-shirt, which depicts him in a mask. He points with his finger and wonders why her t-shirt has the inscription on Ramaji, I am Haishin. The goddess informs that before she is happy that they have met again, something needs to be done. The goddess looks through a finger ring at the guy who wanted to beat Kanata and reports that this man has done something unforgivable, so he will get banned. She says with a smile that this is how they deal with haters, and this is just the beginning. She crunches her fingers, after which blood gushes after the surprised protagonist.